office located at 1601 Main Street.
It was built during the Depression. It's a WPA project, so people were put to work to serve and to build a building that serves the people, and now they're trying to take it away from the people.
I come here all the time. It's a beautiful building. It's reminiscent of the history of the community. It's a beautiful gathering place, and why move it? It's the center of town, and it's a great place.
The cause also has the support of Councilman Bill Rosendahl.
This is the last post office before you hit the ocean in continental United States. And don't throw it in the ocean.
Residents also want to preserve the Story of Venice mural on the wall of the post office lobby, one of only two that remain by noted artist Edward Bieberman.
The history in this city of destroying art is not a very good history. I mean, going back to the Cicadas mural on Olvera Street that was destroyed, and now that this mural here, which is a very important mural by a very important artist named Edward Bieberman, is also part of this legacy that it's time to stop it.
At the heart of this community effort is the belief that some things or institutions are sacred.
We want the post office to continue and to survive. There are some things you can't email.
Those organizing the effort to stop the Venice post office from relocating are asking residents to write to Senators Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein to get them to intervene. Downtown Los Angeles welcomes yet another new business to its growing roster of new businesses. Its newest resident is bringing denim, bright colors, and American flair to the Arts District. Here's Cindy San Luis.
Everything that bears the Lucky brand label has the essence, the feel of it, of LA.
The Lucky Brand Company is now headquartered at 540 South Santa Fe Avenue.
3, 2, 1.
This 46,200 square foot facility brings 250 jobs to the downtown Los Angeles Arts District and will house Lucky Brand's executive offices, merchandising, creative services, and public relations teams. Lucky Brand began crafting their signature vintage-inspired jeans in 1990, quickly earning the title of America's favorite. In 1999, the brand, which became a subsidiary of Liz Claiborne, now called Fifth and Pacific Companies, also produces apparel, shoes, accessories, and jewelry for men and women that are sold throughout the United States, as well as at select locations in Canada and Europe.
It was a dream that was February of 2010 to today, and we're standing here at our building today, and we're very proud of that.
You know, we talk in business about location, location, location.
Lucky Brand moved from its prior location in the city of Vernon.
This is a bandana print that we do in the stores.
Working closely with the city of Los Angeles under the new Development Services Case Management Office, which walks businesses of all sizes through the development process. In the past, companies were forced to contact individuals at 7 different city departments. And as a token of appreciation, the company presented the mayor with his own pair of Lucky jeans. From the Lucky Brand headquarters in the downtown Los Angeles Arts District, I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
Lucky Brand's decision to relocate jobs to the city of Los Angeles follows similar moves by Google, Coda, and Belkin. Some Lucky students at John Muir Middle School got to see the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters in action as they took on the LAPD officers in a friendly game of hoops. Yana Kay has more.
Harlem Globetrotter superstar TNT Maddox is showing off her skills and entertaining the students at John Muir Middle School. As the first female Globetrotter in 19 years, she says it's important for her to connect with kids, especially young girls.
I've always tried to encourage young ladies, but now not only do I get to tell them, I get to show them every night when I put on a Globetrotter uniform that, hey, we can do anything we put our minds to.
Maddox and her teammate Big Easy Lofton teamed up with members of the LAPD basketball team to promote and teach the kids the importance of character through the organization's cheer program, which stands for cooperation, healthy mind and body, effort, enthusiasm, and responsibility.
It means a lot, because, I'm from New Orleans. I was born and raised in New Orleans, and I went to a school similar to this. We didn't have nobody coming in, talking to us and turning into something positive, teaching us character, teaching us safety, in conjunction with the police. So it's good to do it. It's excellent for me. I love it.
8 LAPD basketball players, along with TNT and Big Easy, faced off on the court with a friendly shootout. Not only do the students get a chance to see the Globetrotters in action, but they're also getting a chance to see an actual game. Officials here passed out 300 tickets to students to see a game in Los Angeles. Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck says events like these help to build camaraderie between the officers and the kids and help teach the kids the value of teamwork.
An interaction with the Globetrotters and with the kids in Los Angeles doesn't get better than that.
In addition to getting tickets for the game, the kids also went home with a few new tricks up their sleeves. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The Harlem Globetrotters are currently on their 2012 World Tour. 2 council members are threatening to file a lawsuit concerning the city's redistricting proposal. We'll tell you about another item you can add to your recycling bin, and your input is needed to help the city improve on city services. These stories and more in City Beat. Council members Bernard Parks and Jan Perry have sent a joint letter to Redistricting Commission Chair Arturo Vargas and City Attorney Carmen Trutanich, alleging that the process for drawing the city's council boundaries was flawed and possibly even illegal. The letter was sent prior to the commission finalizing its proposed map to send to the city council for debate. Perry and Parks' letter accuses the commission of trying to move black voters out of Parks' majority black South LA district while turning Perry's district south of downtown into a majority Latino district. Parks and Perry have threatened to file a lawsuit challenging the maps if the existing recommendations are approved. An update on a story we brought you last week on truancy. The LA City Council has unanimously voted to significantly reduce the base fine for skipping or being late to school from $250 to $20 for a third offense. The plan, introduced by Councilman Tony Cardenas, now allows first or second time offenders to either perform community service or attend an after-school program. Those against the former truancy policy argue that a hefty fine does not encourage youths to stay in school. Los Angeles residents can now recycle CDs and DVDs in the recycling bin. Although they're a computer-related item, they are not electronic waste. The disc itself is made of recyclable materials. So just separate the discs and any paper labels from the jewel cases. If the discs have any personal information on them, either reformat them or deeply scratch the surface of the discs before placing them in the recycling bin. And recycling is just one of many city services the city is hoping to improve upon. That's why it's seeking feedback from all residents of Los Angeles on the quality and efficiency of city services like recycling and street services. This survey is an opportunity for all community members and businesses to have their voices heard. The City Controller's Office will be collecting survey data over the next several months and will use it to compile ideas and make recommendations on making Los Angeles more efficient. To take the online survey, visit surveymonkey.com/s/LA Controller Survey. Cherry blossoms in our nation's capital have long been a symbol of the friendship between the U.S. and Japan. Now the city of L.A. has planted its own friendship grove of cherry blossoms to help cement relations with its own sister city of Nagoya, Japan, and to mark a special anniversary. Here's Anna Marcos.
Cherry blossoms blooming could soon become an annual springtime tradition here in L.A. Councilmember Tom LaBonge and community members planted the last of a dozen cherry trees at Griffith Park to honor a special occasion for both Japan and the U.S. The 100-year anniversary of the cherry blossom trees, which have become so famous in Washington, D.C.
100 years ago, and I just learned this right today, it was a gift from the people of Japan to the United States, and 3,000 cherry blossom trees. And now it's a festival, and not just in our own nation's capital, which is the most famous spot, but throughout the world.
The trees here at Griffith Park also symbolize the friendship between L.A. and its sister city of Nagoya, Japan. They were donated by the L.A. Nagoya Sister City Affiliation and Huntington Library, a botanical garden and museum near L.A.
These grow the best in this climate. They're the healthiest, and they are commemorative to what was planted 100 years ago also.
So they're a hybrid?
Yes, they are.
As soon as a year from now, visitors to this area of Griffith Park will see the blossoming of the cherry trees. In fact, this young tree just planted already has blossoms on it.
Especially during the spring, early spring in February or March, when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom, it will create a beauty to symbolize the beauty of the relationship between Japan and the United States.
Washington, D.C. expects some competition. L.A. just might one day have its own annual Cherry Blossom Festival. I'm Anna Marcos for L.A. This Week.
Los Angeles and Nagoya, Japan have been sister cities since 1959. A community activist who passed away in 2009 is remembered for her eye for beauty and for her public service. Now the city is memorializing her by dedicating a corner of her community in her name. From here on out, the intersection at Van Nuys Boulevard and Glen Oaks Boulevard in Pacoima will be known as Marie Harris Square. Los Angeles City Councilmember Richard Alarcon joined Pacoima residents on a recent Saturday in paying tribute to the late Marie Harris, a trailblazing woman and activist in the Northeast San Fernando Valley.
The most important attribute that she brought was beauty. She believed that we needed to inspire people to look for beauty in life. She saw the beauty in Pacoima and she wanted everybody else to appreciate that beauty.
The councilman was joined at the celebration by Harris's daughter, Rolene Naveja.
Things she did that she was never paid for. She just was totally a community worker. If she saw something that needed to be done, she jumped in and did it.
Born in 1922, Harris, who died in 2009, was not only a couture designer and businesswoman, she was also an activist involved in the San Fernando Valley NAACP.
She had an eye for making things better, always. She could look at anything and improve on it and make it so much better than it was before. And she raised everybody in this community.
Naveja and Pacoima residents agree that while known for her career in the beauty industry, beautifying her community through public service was Harris's ultimate legacy. In 1986, Marie Harris was even named honorary mayor of Pacoima by then Councilmember Ernie Bernardi. In this week's list of things to do, the Chinese Lantern Festival, a Gene Autry double feature, and talented young musicians in concert. The Chinese American Museum invites you to its 11th annual Lantern Festival, taking place Saturday, March 3rd from noon to 7 p.m. The event will be held at the Chinese American Museum, which is located at the El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument. Each year, the Lantern Festival, which celebrates the closing of the Lunar New Year festivities, spotlights a Chinese-American recreation of a traditional village street fair featuring brilliant lantern displays and exciting musical, acrobatic, and lion dance performances. Festival goers can try their hand at lantern making, Chinese opera-style face painting, kite building, Chinese calligraphy, and much more. And to cap off the event, there will be a spirited glow-in-the-dark silver dragon stage performance in the evening. The Chinese American Museum is located at 425 North Los Angeles Street. Go to camla.org for more information. Also on Saturday, March 3rd, 2 Gene Autry films will be screened at the Autry National Center's Western Legacy Theater. The double matinee starts at noon and features Red River Valley and Mule Train. Red River Valley, released in 1936, has Autry playing a cowhand who, along with his partner, help Arizona cattlemen who are trying to build a dam. But they face unscrupulous businessmen who attempt to hinder these plans for their own profit. Mule Train, released in 1950, has Autry befriending a prospector who discovers natural cement and helping him promote his discovery. Admission to the Autry is $10 for adults with discounts for students, seniors, and children. The Autry is located at 4700 Western Heritage Way. Go to theautry.org for details. And catch the Los Angeles Children's Chorus and American Youth Symphony at the Walt Disney Concert Hall on Sunday, March 4th at 7:30 p.m. Los Angeles Children's Chorus is where children ages 6 to 18 from across greater Los Angeles gather together to become world-class singers through hard work, dedication, and passion. Meanwhile, the American Youth Symphony trains gifted young musicians for professional careers in symphony orchestras. The two come together for an amazing concert on Sunday, March 4th. The Disney Concert Hall is located at 111 South Grand Avenue downtown. Ticket information can be found at laphil.com. And remember, you can find this information on our Facebook page. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. Year of the Dragon or not, many LA cyclists were on fire as they took on the annual Chinatown Firecracker Bike Run. Here's Anna Marcos.
Time to roll as the annual Chinatown Firecracker Bike Ride kicked off. Riders cruised from Chinatown through Elysian Park, Dodger Stadium, the LA River, Griffith Park, and back. But there was no stopwatch at the end. This was a community event, not a race.
It's a wonderful event that promotes a healthy lifestyle and physical activities for local Angelinos.
The Chinatown Firecracker Bike Ride helps ring in the new Chinese New Year. And this time around, it's the Year of the Dragon. The bike ride is now in its 4th year and growing.
This is the biggest turnout we've had. We started out with 250 riders. This year, I think we have over 1,000 riders. We're really happy about this year.
Not much of a firecracker bicyclist? No worries. There was an easy 20-mile ride and a hilly 30-mile ride. And this guy was a total newbie, having only ridden his bike around the block.
A little bit around the neighborhood, but not 25 miles or 20 miles.
Oh, it was awesome. It was an awesome ride. This is actually my first 10K.
Okay, we won't tell her she rode a lot further than that. And this little guy, well, he obviously didn't need a bike to blow off steam. But no matter what your cycling level, this day was about the wheels under you, the nature and sunlight above, and oh yeah, all those biking buddies in every direction. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
There was also a Firecracker 5 and 10K walk run the next day. The money raised helps benefit Chinatown's Chinese New Year activities. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lecityview.org. You can also follow us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Came to the U.S.
I brought my hopes and dreams for a better life.
Since becoming a U.S. citizen,
I'm running for public office.
I've traveled with the freedom and security of a U.S. passport.
And I voted for President of the United States.
U.S. citizenship means a better life.
I chose opportunity.
I chose freedom.
I chose responsibility.
I chose to become
a U.S. citizen.
I'm a proud American.
Hi, I'm Craig Irwin in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Trenton Irwin, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Tom LaBonge is here. Thank you, Mr. LaBonge, and you are on time. Part of the on-time caucus. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to take a moment to recognize a strong supporter of our municipality. He's the former president.
morning. I want to welcome you to the Los Angeles City Council. It is Wednesday, February 29th. Again, I want to welcome you to the Los Angeles City Council. My name is Herb Wesson. I am the president of the Los Angeles City Council. We meet 3 days a week. We meet Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Friday at 10 a.m. All of our meetings are open to the public. Please come down and visit us and participate in your government, or just come watch your city government at work. With that said, Mr. Clerk, let's get this day started.
Very good, sir. Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, I want to thank Mr. Garcetti for making the quorum. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Englander moves. Mr. Krikorian seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Zine moves. Mr. Reyes seconds. Next.
Mr. President, would you like to run through the agenda at this point?
Before we run through the agenda, I'd like to acknowledge Council Member Englander.
Yes, thank you very much. Today, I wear a scarf that says Cougars to represent Kennedy High School. We have the Kennedy High School government leadership class here today. If we can hear from them in the back. All right. Give them a round of applause. Go Cougars. It's a fantastic school, and it's a great opportunity for them to participate in civic engagement. It's a terrific class. I also want to recognize Nicole Burnson on my staff, who is a graduate from Kennedy, as well as our controller, Wendy Gruhl, who attended Kennedy High School as well, Mr. Labange, because he tracks everybody who attended every single school. And if we can give them all a round of applause for taking the time out of their busy schedules, our future leaders, the Kennedy High School 9th through 12th grade government leadership class. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Englander. And remember when we were young and in grade school, Mr. Englander, and the teacher would tell us, you know, you can't just bring one apple to class, or if you have candy, you have to have candy for everyone. So high school, I think we're due another 14 scarves. Okay? 14 scarves. Okay, with that said, Mr. Clerk, let's go through the first set of items on the agenda. I believe those are items 1 and 2.
Yes, sir, that is correct. Items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. Item 2 is a PCN in Council District 3, and a motion is required.
Okay.
Mr. President, we do have cards on both items.
All right. Members, any specials? Okay, let's move on, Mr. Clerk, to the next set of items.
Very good, sir. Items 3 through 12 are items for which public hearings have been held. There is a committee report in for number 12, and as I understand it, a Budget and Finance Committee report has also just been circulated for Council's consideration on that matter as well.
Okay, members, any specials? Mr. Zine.
7, 8, Mr. President.
Okay, Zine is 7 and 8. Mr. Clerk, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Mr. Rosendahl, I'd like to ask that item 11 be called special.
Okay, for Bill Rosendahl, Paul Krikorian calls item 11 special. Mr. Garcetti.
Number 12, please.
Number 12 for Mr. Garcetti. Okay, so let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Clerk, next set of items.
Items 13 through 32 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Mr. Clerk, do we have any cards on those items?
Yes, sir, we do. We have cards on items 16, 17, 18, 20, 26, 28, and 31.
specials, members, specials? Mr. Zine, are you making a request?
Oh, it's up there. Okay, thank you. 17, we got it.
Okay, let's vote on the remaining items. Mr. Labange.
If staff is here, they can answer my question on 26. I won't call, I'll pull it off special, but for right now, I need 26.
It's already called special for cards.
Thank you.
So you can speak with staff and see if they can take care of your concerns. So let's prepare to vote on these items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Clerk.
Pardon me, sir. Just for clarification, items 13 through 15 are ordinances first read. Unless reconsidered, those will go over 1 week.
Oh, no, we will, I believe we will have enough members here. And when we get to that magic number of 12, we will reconsider those items and then re-vote on them.
Very good, sir.
Okay, so where are we?
That brings us to item 33. It's scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
No, I'd like to check with Mr. Krikorian and find out what he recommends we do on item 33. Okay, he is suggesting that we hold it for now. We've been joined by Mr. Cardenas. So with that, Mr. Clerk, we should have enough members to vote on the ordinances. So how should we proceed with that?
Mr. President, we should first vote to reconsider items 13 through 15, then take a second vote on the items themselves.
Okay, then that's exactly what we do. Members, this vote is for reconsideration. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
So those items are now before us, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
So let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So does that bring us to public comment at this point?
Yes, sir, public comment or items called special.
Okay, I think we will go to public comment at this point.
One card, dude. One card.
Okay, so what we're going to do quickly, I'm going to have three public comment, general public comment speakers come up, and then I'm going to quickly, I think we may be able to dispense with item one. So I want to call Noah Weiss, who I haven't seen in a while, Sean McLeod, and Aura Vasquez, if you would please come forward. And as I don't see I do see Mr. Weiss. I thank you for your promptness, but I want to see Sean McLeod and Vasquez. Noah Weiss, good to see you. No, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, City Council. You know, by the way, for the benefit of the kids who are here today, I think one of the best descriptions of the LA City Council I ever heard is that they're just a bunch of kids with power. So I think as the young people watch the City Council in action, I think they could probably appreciate perhaps what they see and maybe what they should avoid in their own classrooms. Each and every one of you take an oath of office to abide by the Constitution of the United States. That is why it was so disturbing to witness Mr. Rosenthal's giveaway of valuable land use entitlement rights to a public charter school, New West Charter, on precious industrially zoned land based on conditions which the city attorney acknowledged yesterday were completely unenforceable. This should have been a no-brainer for Mr. Rosendahl. It represents, and for the public who's watching, this represents the classic insider, well-connected special interest against the broader public interest. And in this case, the insiders won. Mr. Rosendahl didn't quote the letter, and Mr. Huizar isn't here, but Mr. Rosendahl didn't quote the letter from the Steve Zimmer, who's the LAUSD representative, basically excoriating the charter school because they couldn't get it even a charter from LAUSD. They had to go to the state. There's no openness. There's no transparency. The very things that Mr. Rosendahl said that he was for when he ran for office. Mr. Rosendahl said he's for the kids. But which kids? Not all kids. Not the Hispanics who would be denied the benefit of being able to go to this school. Certainly not the kids at Uni High who are going to get screwed by this proposal. Only the kids of the special well-connected interest. It is true. And the bottom line is, going forward, what we're talking about is I think it's really important now that members of this council be held accountable for their unlawful acts when they violate their oath of office, which is why I've had the marshal or the sergeant give a packet to Mr. Weezar, who's not here today, but Mr. Reyes and Mr. Krikorian. That packet basically contains a federal court summons and lawsuit holding you individually liable for your breach in these other variants giveaways.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. McLeod, welcome.
Good morning to the City Council, and thank you for hearing from us today. I'm here with Repower LA, and my name is Sean McLeod, and I'm the Assistant Business Manager with IBEW Local 18. And we're the largest union on the property at LADWP. And they have worked very hard to ensure that reliable power and clean water is safely delivered to every home and business in the city 365 days. We want to ensure that this transition to cleaner energy sources results in creation of middle-class jobs and expanded opportunity for Los Angeles residents. And so we are asking, and we know that your successful energy efficiency work requires training, and that poor quality work can pose dangers not only to the employees, the workers, the structures, and residents alike. So we're asking that we have started a program, an 18-month program that's called the Utility Pre-Craft Training Position, and we're asking that this program be enhanced because it's a pipeline to career jobs at LADWP, where 30 to 40% of their employees are eligible to retire at this point. We currently have 33 UPCTs that are weatherizing homes in the city of Los Angeles. And this is through a $8.3 million ARA grant. The employees are being well trained and is giving us a pipeline. And the UPCT program is providing high-level skill and preparing the UPCTs to transition into the green sector and have jobs to replace these eligible workers that are eligible to retire. We need to expand this program. And therefore, we're asking that you have the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power to continue to invest in energy efficiency and also keep this program going. We're here to thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Vasquez.
Good morning, City Council. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. My name is Aura Vasquez, and I am here representing the Sierra Club. So, as we know, California requires 10% reduction of energy consumption. Currently, LADWP goals is of 8.5%, and this fails to keep pace with expected growth energy consumption. It also sends hundreds of dollars, millions of dollars in ratepayers' money out of state each year to buy dirty coal. So why, rather than funding the coal industry, we should invest in energy efficiency programs like Repower LA that are cheaper for Los Angeles than coal and help homes, businesses, and lowers your and my bill. Repower LA policy will set a goal of reducing electricity consumption by 15% over 10 years. This is really a win-win situation. Adopting this policy will make DWP a leader in developing innovative energy efficiency programs that create path jobs, reduce greenhouse gas pollution, keep customers' bills low, and lower power generational costs. As city leaders, all of you, I urge you to support LA ratepayers and tell DWP to implement Repower LA policy. We are advocating, as I said earlier, a winning-winning situation, saving money, saving DWP and customer millions of dollars, and ensure that LA moves beyond coal. We can create thousands of career path jobs for Angelinos. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this point, I want to recognize Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. It's my honor to introduce
joining us to hear today the St. Margaret Mary Alaco class of 2012. 8th graders, welcome to City Hall, and they're here to learn about city government. They're going to go to Alvera Street for lunch. I just want all 37 students here, welcome, with their 4 adult chaperones, including the vice principal of the school, Elisa Zimmerman. So help me, colleagues, welcoming them, and we wish you the best. We love you, and thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, or not a quick break, but a break from public comment. Mr. Clerk, and I want to recognize Mr. Cardenas. We were going to take up item 1. Mr. Cardenas?
Yes, are there public comment cards on item 1?
There is one card, and that's Dr. Williams. If you could please come forward.
Thank you.
Dr. Tom Williams. Sergeants, if we could get some agendas in the back. Dr. Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, Northeast LA Coalition of Councils. This is another one. We recently had problems with the Department of Water and Power. Now we're having problems with the Department of Public Works. Same initials, different arrangement. A different arrangement indeed. Here's a situation. What are the budgets for these departments and for the Bureau of Sanitation? Where do the monies come from? Where do the monies go? A full disclosure of the financing. There's also an element that we recently implemented, the ratepayers advocate for the Department of Water and Power. Can't we have a ratepayers advocate for the Department of Public Works? Because we have both sanitation and sewage charges and stormwater charges and a few other charges. So we need to have some more public visibility. Public? Oh, the Bureau of Sanitation, the Department of Public Works generally has their stakeholders. And we're quite concerned regarding the difference between stakeholders and the public. Department of Water and Power did see the difference between the public and its stakeholders and gave us a lot of information in many different locations to the public. There were some problems with it, but it was at least a lot better than what is being forced on us now. So I'd highly recommend delay it for maybe 3 months, get somebody in to do an audit like you do for the Department of Water and Power, and really come to a resolution as to how this affects not only the individual department and their special funds, but also the general fund, because we need to know where the money comes from and where it's going.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And there are now agendas in the back. Mr. Cardenas.
Yes, I'd like to ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Okay, there are no speakers in the queue. On that item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, I want to go
Forthwith.
forthwith.
Thank you.
Mr. Krikorian. We're going to, Mr. Clerk, at this point, we're going to briefly hear from our Chair of Budget and Finance on item 33. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 33 is settlement of a case or payment of a judgment, actually, arising out of a case alleging a defective design. We heard it in committee and approved settlement and approved payment of the judgment, and that would be my recommendation at this time. Unless there's questions by members, there's no need to hear it in closed session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the recommendation? We have one card on that item. Mr. Arnold Sachs, if you please come forward. Mr. Arnold Sachs on item 33.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. I take real disagreement with this phrase in here. where it says confer with legal counsel for opinion regarding the settlement here. Now, is that outside legal counsel that you're paying over $500 an hour to, or would that be city counsel, a city attorney that you're paying that much money to? It doesn't really say here. But my concerns really, and I heard from Councilman Reyes, because when I questioned his ability to sit on an authority that wasn't in existence, he mentioned that the city attorney had looked at the forms and said it was okay for him to sit on this board that he now sits on, because previously he had resigned from the same board because of a conflict of interest. But at the time that he resigned, the board had no status. It had no legal standing. So I'm wondering, if the city attorney is giving advice on that, then what kind of advice is the city attorney giving on these cases that is costing the city hundreds of millions of dollars? Because if Mr. Reyes had resigned from that board, we would have had a copy of a resignation letter a la Honest Jan Perry when she resigned from her position on the city council as president pro tem or assistant pro tem. I'm sure she submitted a resignation letter.
Let's stay on the item.
Sir, I'm looking at city attorney advice to the city council, which affects the general funds for the city.
Go on, keep going.
And if he's giving that kind of advice to outside interests like that, then his advice for his cases like this, I get better advice on a pack of Bazooka Joe bubblegum.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. So now, Mr. Clerk, if you would read the recommendation.
Mr. President, in the case entitled Robert Christopher versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to pay $452,031.05 plus interest from the date of February 13, 2012.
All right, on that item, let's prepare for the vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now we will resume general public comment. At this point, I'd like to call Abraham Hernandez, Cynthia Swathman, Rosemary Jenkins. If you'd all please come forward. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, council members. Good morning, Council President Wesson, and thank you for all your hard work and leadership. My name is Abraham Hernandez, and I'm a member of SCOPE and also a member of the Repower LA Commission. I'm here today because I've been unemployed since 2008, and I represent thousands of Angelinos who want to work, but who are having trouble finding stable employment. Everyone in Los Angeles knows that the DWP jobs are coveted and sought after. These opportunities are so great because they are not just jobs, but provide the opportunity to a solid middle-class career. The training employees receive, especially the recently developed utility pre-CAF trainee program, is top-notch. I realize the potential that getting into the UPCT position can provide me, and energy efficiency provides the opportunity to create more UPCT positions. I'm lucky enough to be one of those few that are on the UPCT waiting list. The initial UPCT program has provided opportunity for people in need of good jobs, and we need to expand it and ensure that the LADWP focuses on job creation through energy efficiency. We have a long way to go to put everyone back to work, but we have a real opportunity to do so by upgrading our homes and businesses. Work that has to be done because of state environmental mandates. Let's make sure that those jobs are through the DWP and create pathways to prosperity for some of LA's hardest hit communities. We don't just need jobs, we need good jobs. So as city leaders, I'm asking you to support us in creating jobs for me, my friends and neighbors in South LA and other hard hit areas that need jobs. We're ready to work. We just need an opportunity, and we need you to tell the LADWP that job creation through energy efficiency programs is a top priority in 2012. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Hernandez, and I want to welcome Scope, Agenda, and Lane for being here today. Yes, the next, Cynthia
Strathman.
I was
Good morning,
close.
You were. Good morning, Council. I'm Cynthia Strathman, and I represent Lane and Repower LA. Repower LA is a broad-based group of organizations in Los Angeles who are arguing for expanded energy efficiency offerings in the city. You've heard from Sean McLeod, who represents labor interests, from Ora Vasquez, representing environmental interests, and also from Abraham just now, representing the interests of the unemployed. We're here today to deliver copies of a recent report we've released called Clean Power, Good Jobs, Realizing the Promise of Energy Efficiency in Los Angeles. The report, which I'm sure all of you have read, turning the pages with bated breath, outlines the major challenges facing not only the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, but utilities around the country. This utility, like others, is at a crossroads as we face new economic, social, and environmental conditions that include an aging infrastructure, pressing environmental issues, and a workforce that is throughout the country nearing retirement age. We need to find solutions that have broad benefits for the community, especially for ratepayers, for the utility, for LA's unemployed, and for the environment. Repower LA sees energy efficiency as a solution to many of these issues, and it is a solution that is being pursued aggressively and energetically in many other cities around the country. We've been busy working with LADWP to develop programs that have broad benefits, and we want to be sure that the LA city leaders are standing strong behind what we see as a win-win-win scenario. And that's why we're here today asking for your support for Repower LA.
Thank you so much. Rosemary Jenkins, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, City Council members. I'm Rosemary Jenkins. I represent Repower LA as well as the Sylmar Neighborhood Council, for which I'm chair of the Green Committee. The Valley, San Fernando Valley, has particular needs, unique needs, particularly in the warmer months. We have excessive heat and therefore use a disproportionate amount of electric energy and water. What we're looking for, with the help of LADWP, is green, sustainable, career, prevailing wage jobs with benefits that train the unemployed and the underemployed in disadvantaged areas. We know that LA has approximately a 20% unemployment rate, and certainly the San Fernando Valley, and especially the East San Fernando Valley, has a disproportionate representation of the unemployed and underemployed. We would like to work with unions. We want to work with businesses, large and small, to invest in our needy communities by building new green facilities, retrofitting older and or abandoned buildings to a green status. LEED has several different categories that would apply to. We want to train high school students that would in turn move on to the community colleges or occupational centers, linked with businesses who could provide internships and apprenticeships, and then eventually permanent career jobs. We want the city to get off dirty coal, and that includes fracking until natural gas can be used in a clean way. Thank you.
No, thank you, Ms. Jenkins. I'd like to call forward Dr. Tom Williams, Arnold Sachs, and Matt Dowd, if you please come forward. Dr. Tom Williams, Arnold Sachs, and Matt Dowd. Mr. Williams, Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. Yesterday, we pledged our allegiance to the flag of the United States. The last part of that says, with liberty and justice for all. May I remind you that in Syria, they don't have such a pledge. A lot of people have died there, 7,000, some of which I knew at one time. I lived in Aleppo, Halab, and Latakia for several months during a winter of malcontent. That was the Muslim Brotherhood. Now it's the army. What are they doing? They're killing citizens, unarmed, children, women, adults. So, justice for all. But here in the United States, we, the government of the United States that we pledged allegiance to, have killed 3 American citizens overseas. Mr. Al-Awlaki, he was an American citizen in the United States, but then he left. And it was the government of the United States that decided to assassinate him and by collateral damage to other American citizens without trial, without review by their peers, without you and me on the jury panel. So what happened? Do we pledge our allegiance to a flag that represents the assassination of American citizens without trial, without due process overseas? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Sachs, then followed by Matt Dowd.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. Dr. Williams mentioned earlier regarding another advocate, a ratepayer advocate for Department of Public Works, and there was just a news story, an editorial in the LA Times from the 26th, LA rivals Chicago sleaze. And they went on to discuss in that the ratepayer, the advocate for jobs, for economics that you were supposed to talk about, that been on the table for like 7 or 8 months. Where are you at with that? So calling for a ratepayer or for an advocate for the public, just like the advocate for the utilities, when it's a public utility supposed to be overlooked by the council, and having another step in the process just to take you away from any responsibility is somewhat redundant. And speaking again of the utilities, did you notice that, again, this year's transfer is $2 million less than last year's transfer? But what's also amazing is they made a one-time transfer again, $252 million, or $250 million, one time. How could that be? How would the policy change? 2 years ago, when you were backpedaling and we were swimming in sewage, the city was going bankrupt, they couldn't get the third payment. Now, 2 years in a row, one payment. Well, a little bit iffy because last year they made a payment in February and then they continued 3 payments into the new fiscal year. So the $252 million to $50 million, $51 million of it was from last year. So we don't even know how much was being transferred. But I'm sure that the new chair of finance, who holds the Frank Zappa Crappa seat of power, will give us the answers.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Dowd.
Yes, thank you so much. Just going to clarify some things from yesterday. We talked about street services and how the city is 80 or 90 years behind in street services. You know, and I told the guy, I'm just trying to get some asphalt. You know, I know Bill gets his asphalt in his district, and according to the LA Times and the LA Weekly, but more importantly, the front cover, see, I didn't call him a hairy ape. That's the LA Weekly. I'm just, you know, that's a whole organization that represents the city, calling your city attorney Carmen Trutanich, you know, like a bully, representing him as an ape. And here's why. Here's why I got problems. Because, you know, you bring out these things of Venice Beach that are meant to be pro-performer. You've got my CD, but I get dragged to court for having an umbrella on the ground, for having a microphone stand, for having an amplifier, all these things that you're meant to have. And then after I come here for years and years and say, just fix it, just fix it, just fix it. And you go, no, why don't we wait till the federal judge gets it in federal court, because you'll lose. And we won. And that was 18 months ago. We got an injunction. And now the attorney here is spending your city funds, your general fund, on an outside counsel, big high-priced attorneys here downtown, to fight us off some more, just to put it off and try and beat us down. And that's where all the libraries and all of them, anyone who lost their job in the city, it's this guy here, Carmen Trutanich, just wasting money so he could be elected to the DA.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, we want to take up 2 items quickly. We've got items 20 and 21.
Very good, sir. Those items were called special for cards.
Item 20 is Mr. Zuma Dog. Item 20.
Yes, I'd like to take a minute on this right now, and I'd like to say that they want to spend a lot of money right now on research, technological research for a subscription service. Now, I'd like to say that the city does not have money for this, and here's why. Due to third-party money transaction flips, due to RICO racketeering, due to the fact that LA City Hall has been seized and is under control by an orchestrated mafioso mob, the city does not have money. The general fund has been pilfered. The money has been invested into fake, shill, non-investment grade Wall Street investments and real estate, and we lost. Things like Taylor Yard, when they take the thing and then they sell it to their pal real cheap, and then they sell it to DWP real expensive, and the city loses. And so now the city has no more money. So the last thing we should do right now, when the city of Los Angeles is going bankrupt because the council members here are powerless, we have 15 heads and 1 vote. 15 heads and 1 unanimous vote. And these poor council members, they're going to vote yes. I want a no vote on this. But they're going to vote yes because we are looking at 15 sad puppets who are not able to stand up to the mafia, organized crime, RICO, racketeering. It's called the drug cartel. Okay, and you know, you're giving us long shots and you're not doing close-ups. Let's talk about the 7th Avenue produce market. It ain't nothing to do with produce, okay? It's about taking the loss on insurance for the produce that's spoiled and about what's really being shipped out across the country, okay? And now that's going to be in Weezar's district because he's taking the redistricting. This whole redistricting effort is a mob seizure of the city. We're under RICO racketeering. The mafia mob, the cartel is in control of City Hall, and the redistricting effort is the heist.
Thank you. Thank you. There's no one in the queue on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, next item.
That brings us to item 21, called special for cards.
Mr. Arnold Sachs. On item 21, Mr. Arnold Sachs on item 21. Mr. Sachs.
Yeah, I believe this is, I don't have my agenda in front of me, sir. So it's a service contract. It's not in Lenox. Figueroa. Oh, this is property. The bond sale here. Could you possibly define the phrase in there, the release that's listed in there? There's a technical term in this item, just for the benefit of the public. It says something about a releasing the bonds to refinance the rental here. That's why I held this item. It's just a technical term that maybe the city attorney could explain for the uninformed here in the council chambers, that part of the agenda item. Maybe. Who knows?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. In behalf of Ms. Perry, could we have 21 forthwith? And I'd like to be shown on a no vote for number 10. I wasn't here when it went through.
Okay, well, let's vote on this item first, and then it will go forthwith in the event we get the votes. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Forthwith on that item at Mr. Parks' request. On item 10, Mr. Clerk, how do we accommodate Mr. Parks?
Mr. President, that item was it was passed 10-0. If we were to change his vote to a no, or excuse me, if we were to record him as a no, it would still pass 10-1. So.
Okay, then let's on that item, please record him as a no. Okay, let's continue. We're going to go back to public comment for a few cards, and that will be Zuma Dog, Michael Carrion, and Armanac Norajanian. Mr. Zuma Dog.
Yes, the cameraman gave Matt a long shot, so I paid back. What everybody's got to realize sitting here in the horseshoe, you're dealing with the real-life kingpin in town, baby. I'm the political kingpin on this side of the rope, okay? And I proved that because I could drop anything on any of you at any time, and you're running scared. You ruined your whole weekend. I can tell you exactly what the FBI was interviewing people with last Thursday, okay? It's about housing. All right, so I want total respect, total quiet when I'm talking, okay? By the way, the icon, yeah, LA Weekly, baby. Hey, Ed Reyes, how you walking away, bro? Why don't we talk about your district a little bit, okay? Okay, he's got to go. That's okay. I like Ed Reyes, a sweet spirit. But let's talk about a not sweet spirit, a hairy ape of a beast, Carmen Tutanich, that knucklehead clown of a moron. First of all, I want the city to know that me and Matt Dowd whooped his ass in federal court.
Hey, Zuma, hold your time. Back up a little bit. The mic is cracking.
Yes,
Go.
okay. Thank you. Yes, I'd like to say that me and my pal Matt Dowd whooped Carmen Tutanich's ass, but good in federal court. Didn't even have an attorney. And now this clown of a chump wants to run for DA? What a loser. Meanwhile, you can look at me right here. I'm right there. When it says trampling rights, I'm the one that they're putting in the picture there. All right? And let's talk about Carmen Tutanich, by the way. It's called pay for play. Okay, now he hired Myers-Nave, an outside counsel firm, to drag out our settlement. And I found out that Myers-Nave, a long list of attorneys that contributed to Carmen Tutanich. I don't know why Dennis Zine would want to endorse him. But now that I'm kind of in a bad mood, let's just tell everybody watching that whatever these people do here, it's all a bunch of BS because they're just puppets of the mafioso orchestrated mob. That's why the FBI had to get involved. The FBI is running deep into City Hall, and we got these people right here. They're in big trouble. Don't believe a word they say.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Michael, Mr. Carrion? Michael. Good morning.
Good morning. You got an agenda, something on your agenda by number 11, which I'm not going to speak on. I'll speak on later. But you have a parking enforcement officer in here who is illegally parked. What an irony, huh? He comes to City Hall and he parks illegally. It says no E-plate parking outside where it's only media parking. When does your parking enforcement officers work for media? Oh, that's right, during X-rated movies. Wow. Anyways, I'm here to let Mr. Weezer know once again, 80 lights in our district on Huntington Drive and Soto haven't been fixed yet. Your office has known about this for over 2 months. Our honorary mayor even let you guys know that 2 months ago. I found out why all of the projects on Alcazar hadn't been got back to me. They got bigger projects. They're going to knock down the bridge. USC is widening Soto. USC is going all the way up to Alcazar. USC is the one who paid for that street, Alcazar, to be fixed. But they didn't finish it. They're waiting for the city to finish whatever they started. And I think that's unfair. When I come here, what I'm asking for is representation. You guys come to us and you pick us and you ask us to pick you for office, to vote for you. We vote for you and then you turn around and ignore us. I'm going to leave you with this. Arturo Gonzalez, that works for the councilman's office, still hasn't returned my calls. And if he says that I'm rude and mean to him, this is an adult situation. You're talking about $1 million. I've never been rude and mean to him. I've been arrogant. I've been tough. I've been direct. but I've never been disrespectful. Thank you.
Michael, all right. Armagnac Norjanian, please come forward.
Good morning, respectable city council members, dear fellow Angelinos. My name is Armagnac Norjanian. I'm a liberal Democrat and human rights advocate. I run for a seat of California State Assembly from South Central Los Angeles. Actually, I run my election campaign on principles of social justice, environmental protection, technological revolution, and racial integration. Actually, as a tax and spend liberal, I will raise taxes against wealthy individuals and oil producing and gasoline selling corporation 50%. In order to replenish city coffers, and create new jobs, increase social spending, so that those social problems kept flowing, kept feeding our economy, our businesses. And I demand expedited issuance of Section 8 housing vouchers to working poor California within 1 year or less, so we could have rented, decent housing. It would help business interests as well, and many business people would have actually profited with a situation where we empowered consumers, we come up with housing vouchers. I also demand closing down so-called medical marijuana dispensaries and promise to close them down with legislation, special legislation, because those so-called medical marijuana dispensaries are nothing but bandits and robbers who rip off Californians big time, charging up to $200 per 1 ounce of illegal dope. I have palpable support of 56% of California voters who rejected Proposition 19, legalization of medical marijuana, last year. Also intend to assign significant amounts of money to Proposition 36, so-called Substance Abuse Treatment Act, in order to build new hotels, new sanatoriums for substance abusers, and also propose to give 6-month free pregnancy leave to all women, California women, and also propose raise speed limit on highways and California freeways, highways and freeways 20 miles up for all light trucks, cars and vans.
Thank you. Ruth Sarnoff, Cheryl Eichley, Ms. HipHopTalks.com, MrHipHopTalks.com. Please come forward. Ruth Sarnoff. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. My name is Ruth Sarnoff. And I am with Occupy LA. I'm speaking as an individual today to you. Sometimes I get very disturbed with the process and the way in which various items come before this body. Also, the attention level of council people is very poor during much of the public comment. That being said, I want to speak to the process around item number 12, which I believe went on the agenda sometime in the night last night, and because I got the agenda yesterday afternoon, and it was not in there then, and it appears that there may be action items today, and I think that it's important that you explain to those of us who have come today to speak on item 12 to know what the intention, and if this is just a process moving papers from one place to another, or if you're actually taking action on something, because it's real hard to tell from what's in here. And none of us have had a chance to go to a website or anywhere else to verify anything or to look at documents. So I also want to mention the fact that things are moving very, very fast in terms of the mortgage foreclosures, and also the banking initiative and all this around that. And there are articles yesterday and today in the Times about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and things that are going on with the Attorney General's office and lawsuits and other things. And so we need some help in knowing what to speak to today.
Thank you. And there will be a discussion where it relates to item 12, and I'm sure it will be explained. Mr. Krikorian.
President, Thank
Can
you,
we
Mr.
get his
President.
mic working?
Just for the record, Mr. President, item 12 has been on the agenda since the agenda was released. It relates to the responsible banking ordinance, which will be heard at length today following a full hearing that we had in the Budget and Finance Committee on Monday. So that's what item 12 relates to. I just wanted to make sure that the woman who spoke understood that there will be action taken today, a discussion on the item that we discussed in Budget and Finance on Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Cheryl Eichley.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian, for that clarification. My name is Cheryl Eichley. I live in District 4. I am a member of Occupy Los Angeles and a subcommittee called Occupy Fights Foreclosure. I want to just let you know a little bit about the lady who spoke before me. Her name is Ruth Sarnoff. She's probably one of the oldest occupiers of Los Angeles. She's been with us for quite a while. She actually is 79 years old. She was arrested with us the night of the raid. I actually was privileged enough to share not only a bus ride with her and a jail cell with her, but she's an amazing activist and has been for most of her life. She archives, she goes through the newspapers and she cuts out the articles that she thinks is important and she passes them on to other occupiers, so hoping that it will help them. She actually came to yesterday's budget or Monday's Budget and Finance Committee, but she was a little bit late. She takes the bus in from near Pasadena. I forget exactly the name of the city, but she's one of my favorite occupiers, and I think there's other people in this room that would agree with me that know her personally. She's also a very great citizen lobbyist, and she's very civically engaged. She's been a part of the committee that I started civic engagement for quite some time, and I'm honored actually today to not speak on what I was going to speak on during public comment, just to let the rest of Los Angeles know what a valuable citizen we have in Ruth Sarnoff, and she's a great occupier. She's absolutely my favorite occupier, 79 years old, arrested with 292 other occupiers on November 30th, 2011, fighting for our First Amendment rights. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Miss Eichley. Miss HipHopTalks.com.
Good morning.
Followed by Mr. Hip Hop.
Good morning. I'm Miss Eleanor Harrison, representing HipHopTalks.com. Everyone log on.
Yeah, get a little closer or pull it up, please.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I would like to reflect on Black history, the plights, and the struggles of African Americans. President Obama, the First Lady, and First Daughters visited the Museum of African Americans History and Culture. The museum displays and reflects the abuse, torture, torment, and the achievements of African Americans over the centuries. However, what's shamefully missing and does not exist is the Declaration of Reconciliation and Atonement Act from America to African Americans, which should have been included in the Emancipation Act. The United States is very diligent when it comes to holding one accountable for the crimes they commit. But the question remains, when will America accept responsibility and pay its debt to society for the crimes she has committed against African Americans? The sad fact remains that until reconciliation is established by atonement being rendered for the slave trade and genocide, the truth is America is and will remain a fugitive from justice when it comes to African Americans. In the history of the United States, America has always proclaimed to be an establishment based on principle, morals, and values. However, this without a doubt is 100% a classic case of hypocrisy. African Americans deserve and desire justice, and America continues to reject and deny justice for African Americans by way of its power and influence. This is extortion at its very best, being committed by the propagandists. Black people have been taken for fools, and it must stop. Thank you.
Thank you. We could get Mr. HipHopTalks.com. Morning, sir.
Oh, how you doing? Well, I'd like to start with on February 11th, 2011, my fiance and I, we were the victims of a hate crime committed by Ryan McKenzie. We soon discovered that he had close ties to LAPD, in particular with the Officer Sergio Sanchez of the Southwest Division on Martin Luther King Boulevard in Los Angeles, who was recently seen visiting a family just this past Valentine's Day. He was over there about 30, 40 minutes just this past Valentine's Day. He's real close to the family over there. Anyway, subsequently, he got away with what he did. America cannot legitimately proclaim freedom and justice for all when racially motivated attacks are being waged against black people and the perpetrators are granted immunity from prosecution. You know, black people are at the will of the majority to a great extent due to the tremendous imbalance of power. And there's a lot of covert discrimination when it comes to African American black people. Discrimination to any extent is a direct attack upon African Americans' very existence. Throughout history, African Americans have endured a lot of suffering at the hands of others. It's crystal clear why Ryan McKenzie was so bold during the commission of his crime, because he knew that he would get away with it due to the makeup of the LAPD. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, that ends general public comment. Mr. Parks. Mr. Parks? It's my understanding, and the clerk helped me out on this, that
yes, sir.
You weren't a 9. In fact, you explain it, Mr.
In regards to adding a no vote to number 10, in as much as you weren't here, we'd first have to reconsider the matter. In order to do that, it needs to be from a member of the prevailing side.
The president moves.
Very good.
Unless you.
Let me just ask: if I weren't here, I wasn't shown as a vote.
Correct. You were shown as absent.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
You're good with that,
Very
Mr.
good.
Parks? All right. So that brings us to what item? Mr. Garcetti.
Do you mind if we just reconsider? I'd love to be recorded as a yes vote. I had to step out for a second.
Okay,
on number 10.
Is there any?
On consent. It was on consent.
Mr. President, you'd still have to move to reconsider it if
Okay.
Mr. Garcetti was not here.
All right, so let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14
And if I could just add to the
14
record,
eyes.
if I could just add to the record, Mr. President, on the one that was being deferred for further investigation, if I could ask DOT to report back as to why on the rank number 15, which was for Kingsley, Ramona, Immaculate Heart, Lockwood, Lexington, and Pilibos Armenian School. So just if we could add that as a report back from DOT about the reasoning why it went just under the threshold. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, so do we have to vote again at this juncture?
Yes, sir.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes, 1 no.
Okay, members, it's now my intention to take a few of these items out of order, ones that have been primarily held special by cards. So if we could take up item 16. Yes, Mr. Zine.
On items, we'd like to combine 2, 7, 8, and 17. And if we could have a presentation first, Mr. Reyes will open up.
Well, I'm going to get to that. I'm trying to take care of some items that I think we could dispense with quickly.
I thought you were parts on this.
I have not forgotten you.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, let's do item 16, Mr. Clerk. We have 3 cards on that. Dr. Tom Williams, Zuma Dog, and Matt Dow, please come forward. Yes, Mr. Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, and just like to report that our Neighborhood Council Board wanted this to be done. We want the curfew to be reasonable, but not the way it's been done. We have had a lot of complaints from our residents of, might say, harassment. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes to the gate. It's difficult sometimes, especially with the traffic from Huntington on Eastern into the middle school. So we're quite happy if you get this revised. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zumadaw.
Yeah, we're talking about the daytime juvenile curfew. I'd like to spend a minute, and this is a sensitive issue, of course. I want to make sure that the kids' rights and First Amendments aren't being trampled upon, because if you look at the LA Weekly, Carmen Tutanich, rights trampled. Now, here's what I want to make sure of. With the LAUSD, for example, it's very tough for kids to get to school these days under challenging times, and maybe they have to take care of parents or their relatives, and maybe they're out on the streets when they shouldn't be, and then they might get a little infraction ticket, and then maybe it goes to warrant, and then before you know it, you got the LAPD coming in the schools and like pulling kids out of the schools because of some little infraction, and the parents have to lose work to go to the courts, and then it's on your record. And then I think kids are scared to even go to school because of this. So I just want to really make sure that this is to really get bad people doing bad things, and a lot of innocent kids that are challenged to get to school don't end up getting caught up for city revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Dow.
Yes, thank you. First of all, let me say it's February 29, Leap Day. It's my wedding anniversary. First of all, 4 years. I don't get them very often, so it's a big deal. Thank you. 4 years. All right. And nice to be married to the United States. Except I got a bunch of problems from this
Matt,
kind
back
of thing.
up a little bit. It's something crackling with the mic, and we can't hear you. Go on. I'll give you a few extra seconds.
Okay. See, look, I'm a regular guy, and I'm not breaking laws. I don't have any felony or misdemeanor convictions. All these things. I'm wearing a KISS shirt. All right, KISS.
Connect it.
Here it comes. When LAPD get these ordinances and get these things in their hands, they use it to destroy people who are really not evil criminals. And here's how they do it. They gradually build it up on you. They give you these little notices. Because I've had them all. I've had like 20 now. From microphones and all these dumb things. And what they do is when they're going to do this to these kids and to their families, they're going to profile you. Because they're just going to use your kids to get to you. And everything's on Google. And they're all doing this stuff with Google, with the city and LAPD. And it's all intrusive. And what happens, it gets on the internet and it gets on your permanent record. And no matter what you do for the rest of your life. And Bernie Parks understands when people get pissed. Because he says that, and then you got to raise it to the level that the gravity of the situation here is that these kind of things destroy lives. Because LAPD are out of control.
Thank you. And to our sound people, can we see if there's anything wrong with that microphone? I didn't see yours. So what I will ask you to do is fill out one after you make your comment, okay?
Thank you. On this curfew issue, we have to be very careful with curfew, especially on the way to school. I'm speaking to Mr. Weezer about this. We've got plans to tear down a bridge, to widen Soto, and to do other work on Huntington Drive. That is one of the only ways to Wilson High School. That is one of the ways to all the schools right near that area. And when that congestion hits and those buses are late, the teachers in the school districts don't want to hear about why you're late. You're late. On Huntington Drive, we have buses that are filled before they get to El Sereno. So the bus drivers just pass you on and you get the next bus. What's the child going to do when he's got to go to school and he's late because a bus passed him up, the bus he's supposed to catch in traffic? I think the council members should be in touch with what's going on in their community as far as public transportation, because the people who are driven to school in their Mercedes-Benz and their BMWs normally will get there on time. The children who are catching a bus to school are probably going to get stuck in this congestion and are going to get caught up in everything else. So if you guys got a lot of people taking public transit to school, remember this: when it gets congested, stop at a bus stop in your community, in San Fernando, in Boyle Heights, in LA, on Alvarado, and watch the bus drive by and pass all the kids standing there. Why? Because they're overloaded. Those kids are the ones that are going to get arrested, get signed, get issued citations, and nobody's going to do nothing about it. So you guys are passing ordinances here. You guys are deciding what's going to get done. Make sure you're in touch, or your field offices are in touch with the commercial construction and the delays that commuters are taking, not only kids.
Michael, fill out that card for me, please. Okay? All right, Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. I just want to tell my colleagues I appreciate the thorough deliberations we've had on this matter, both in committee and also on the floor. I ask for your aye vote.
Okay, on that item, Mr. Clerk or Madam Clerk, can we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote?
14 ayes.
You get forthwith?
Mr. President, that for clarification is going to go forthwith.
I didn't hear you, Mr. Clerk.
There's a request to send that matter forthwith to the mayor.
Then forthwith. At this point, can we move to item 18? We have one card on item 18, and that's Mr. Zuma Dog on item 18. Please come forward.
Yes, it's the headline
Mr.
of the
Dog.
Zuma Dog Show. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Council Puppers, for going along with the orchestrative mop tells you to. Now let's talk about the headline issue. We're talking about rent escrow, and I'm here to say, please release all these off the rent escrow, because there happens to be an FBI investigation into the way that properties are put into the rent escrow through the systematic code of shady enforcement. The building inspector, first of all, it was right. You know, the city council sits here and says they're trying to keep people in homes, and they want people to keep their homes, and they don't want people to lose their homes. But they should tell that to the inspectors that are in the mafioso mob crew that are busted by the FBI for taking bribes, that'll walk right up to your home or your property and say, hey, you got to do this, hey, you got to do that. And you say, well, no, there's no reason to. And they'll say, well, now you got to do this and now you got to do that. And where's my bribe on top? And then before you know it, you find out that the whole thing was a big sham, and you never should have had the fee assessed in the first place, because it's only to be found out that the housing department has been quoting and citing building and safety code, and the court said that that's illegal. It's kind of like Netflix charging you for Blockbuster. You see, you have the housing department and they do their own enforcement, and then you have the building and safety department and they do their own. But oops, there was a little mistake. They thought they were Siamese twins. So you had the housing department that was saying, hey, we're going to cite you for building and safety. And so then you get the fine, and then it goes to lien, and then you don't get to the hearing in time because they sent you the notice late, and so then you lose the property, only to be found that it was an erroneous lien in the first place, and that the whole department's under FBI investigation, baby, because the city of Los Angeles is guilty, guilty, guilty. They've been guilty of illegally citing people and finding them and seizing properties. It's been in the Superior Court, October 11. So you lose, and this is a corrupt organization.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
All right, we have another item. Mr. Clerk, why don't we bring up item 31 at this point in time? We have one card on it, and that's Arnold Sachs. Arnold Sachs, if you're here, please come forward.
Mr. President, as the
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As the speaker comes up, can I request that item 22 go forthwith, please?
Consider it done forthwith on item 22.
Oh, item 31.
Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. By the way, that term was defease. That would have been nice to get a definition of from the city attorney, but maybe it's over his head. Item 31 refers to banners, I believe, put up announcing the Expo Line Limerick Park Light Pole Banner Project. I'm wondering what it'll say on those banners. We're not stopping here. Or what? Why don't you put up banners that say, we need to stop at Limerick Park? How's that for supporting your community? We're going to put banners up. This is so like the City Council of LA. Put up banners, useless, to say, we're not stopping here, even though the community wants a stop. We'll find the money to spend it someplace else.
Thank you. All right, on this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, the next item, Mr. Clerk, let's bring up item 28. I've got two cards on that. I've got Arnold Sachs. Arnold, come to the front. Let's go to 28. Arnold Sachs and Matt Dowd. Oh, and Mr. Sachs, you have 1 minute left.
Here we go again. Thank you very much. Here we go again. AB 1290 funds in the amount of $240,000. The controller says you're short. Oh wait, not the city. The CRA is short. But this isn't CRA spending this money. This is being spent by the council person. Why the differential? When can the public ever? Well, I know that's a guess, but it's another situation where the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, but both hands stealing money from the public. It's an amazing trick how this happens. AB 1290 funds. How much money is designated for the council to operate with? How much goes to each council member to get as their share? Don't you think because of the way the economy is, the public should have a right to know about that? I guess not, because you never answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. On that item, members, we're going to... Oh,
pardon me, sir. I believe there's another card in.
Mr. Dow.
Yeah, thank you. We talked about it a lot. You know, misappropriation of money, but this one could be okay. Jan Perry, I'm supporting Jan Perry and Bernie Parks on this one. You're getting the Matt Dowd thumbs up. So because I seen Bernie vote no already. There's a no vote. That's what we were looking for. Some kind of just going against the gang mentality, I guess. And we heard all about these Prop 1290 funds, but no, this one, you know, the South and Southeast community plans, you know, they probably need the work. And so as long as it's not going up into the valley, because they're getting too much. Thank you. I'll take item 26 too, for the sake of the orderly conduct of the meeting.
We're going to do 26 next. So why don't we dispense with this item? And Matt, if you'd stay there, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Mr. Parks, consider it done forthwith. Okay, now, Mr. Clerk, that's going to bring us to item 26. And Mr. Dowd and Dr. Tom Williams.
Perfect. All right, forthwith to the mayor, so I'm on the right side of that one straight away. Now, this one, I love this. This is the result of finally putting the CRA to bed, to rest, to death. So finally, these are some CRA projects, and now they're going over to the Department of Recreation and Parks. So, you know, I don't. Sometimes you think, well, who's the worst agency? You know, the CRA or the City of Los Angeles? And when you got the choice, you know, I still think the City of Los Angeles is the lesser of the two evils. So here's some good things. Prop 84 grant applications. So maybe we can get some of these carpenters to work on some of these projects. Let's use that money to get them back to work, because that's what they're here for. And here's one of the things we can do it with. So, you know, it's just an unfortunate state now that the city council, they let the mayor and the pension commissioners run off with all the pension funds and invest it into phony shill projects that were overpriced, and now they're all just they've blown the money, and all your general fund is going to pay off the pensions. So you need to all you people here, you need to advocate for them to get state and federal money to get you back to work, because they don't have the money here and there's no revenue in this city. I'm hearing they're having shortfalls in the revenue. So you need to advocate them to get federal money and state money to keep developing these projects that the CRA started.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. Dr. Tom Williams, please come forward.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council Board member, 30-year resident of El Sereno. We've had experience with Rexon Park. We've had some very bad experience with Rexon Park regarding Ascot Hills Park and how they've treated the citizens or the public advisory committees and what they've done to them. They've basically decimated them, but that's somewhat like CRA, so we don't see that much difference. We do, however, would recommend that the city require that the Rexon Park Department have representatives from the neighborhood councils on each and every one of their public or community advisory groups, and that this be a requirement because we're both city departments. So we have a problem here. They don't like some members of our community, but those are members of our community. We have to work with them. So Rexon Park needs to learn how to work with those people who have strong opinions, strong ideas, and a lot of times good ideas. But they are part of the neighborhoods that surround these parks. And they use them, they promote them, they support them. We've done a lot for our parks in El Sereno. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then on this item, members, we should prepare to vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
The ayes have it. Okay, Mr. Rosendahl, we have two other items that I think we might have more of a robust discussion. So I am hoping that yours...
Short and sweet.
I like that. Sounds like me. All
it's
right.
Item number 11, folks, on your docket. And it's I'm asking the DOT to come up. And what we're doing in the committee, in the Transportation Committee, especially Mr. Koretz and I, who've been dealing with the issue in various ways, it's a report back on certain areas to not enforce certain categories of the parking laws in the city's municipal code. And as you can see, Robert Endelon and Chief Greg Svavzel, our new chief, are here to give us a briefing and a presentation on this item for the benefit of the public out there and my colleagues. Gentlemen, explain what we're doing in the Budget Committee right now, in the Transportation Committee on this.
Good morning. Robert Andalone, Department of Transportation. Briefly, this is a report requesting that the City Council authorize DOT to not enforce certain parking regulations, which we've listed in the report, to facilitate the parking of vehicles in certain high-density areas. There are certain events that occur within each of the council districts that require this accommodation to allow the constituents to be able to use the public streets in a manner that's consistent with City Council.
Chief, could you enlarge on that a little bit?
Yes, there are several events that we have where we have been requested for relaxed enforcement in certain areas, and this is an opportunity to formalize that process so that each council district can recognize the events in their area, and we can have a consistent pattern of how it's approved. And of course, this would not extend state law, just municipal code.
And what are some examples of that?
It would be preferential parking districts. That was one that came up at the committee, but it would also be the expired meters and things that the city controls.
And it can be a religious holiday situation in synagogues or churches. It could be large events that require that to happen and to have that relaxed parking so that people can appreciate it with enough notice, enough process through my council colleagues' issues in their district, and signage would go up or things would go on the meters or whatever that would allow people to have that particular event.
That's correct, Council Member. The department will intend to report back with the administrative guidelines outlining the procedures as well as those exemptions that would be included. There was a recommendation to include street sweeping as well as to provide a provision for social occasions within a certain period of time. So that's something we'll discuss internally and we'll report back in the next committee.
And when we do that in the committee, colleagues, it'll all go to your offices too. So if you know of special events or particular events that you rely on that, we would like you to engage in it as well. If there's any questions, great. If there aren't, I'll just ask for you to know we've done this and it will go back to committee. Thank you.
Mr. Englander, followed by Mr. Zine.
Just real quickly, I just wanted to urge everyone to vote yes on this. This is critically important. We've had issues for years where we have a funeral, for example, and there's no parking for folks, and it's the last thing we could, the worst thing you could do as a council officer is tell people they can't attend a funeral or park there. They're going to get cited or their vehicle towed for an incident like that, and it's very difficult because of the bureaucracy. So this streamlines the process, and I appreciate Mr. Rosenthal's work on this as well as DOT, so thank you.
Mr. Zine.
Chief, first time I've seen you in uniform, so you look sharp in uniform.
Thanks.
The state of California is moving forward with a law if the meter is broken. Are you aware of that? They want to, people would be permitted to park during that specific period of time, not put money in the meter. Are you aware of that law that they're moving forward on?
Robert and I just talked about it actually in the back of the chambers. We don't have all the details. We know it's sponsored by AAA, and there's a concern that we have if you can park at a damaged meter, it might encourage vandalism. So we have a lot to learn about this process, but we are aware of it.
Okay, I just wanted to put on the map that that's a new thing coming down the pike. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Rosendahl, to close.
Yeah, so colleagues, I just want to be clear that these are draft guidelines and they'll be coming back to the Transportation Committee and Council for review, but I wanted you to be aware of the efforts in the meantime. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. With that said, Mr. Clerk or Madam Clerk, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
All right, at this point in time, Mr. Zine, let's discuss how you want to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The chairman of Plum and I've discussed this. We want to combine 2, 7, 8, and 17 together so we can hear those all at one time. And our Plum chair, Mr. Reyes, will open it up, and then I will take it from there, and then we will have discussion with the council.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney, can we put is there any, can we impose, not impose, but in this within X number of minutes, or what are our options?
There should be a reasonable amount of time for public comment.
20 minutes? Okay, then 20 minutes.
Actually, it should be a little bit longer than that.
21 minutes.
Mr. Chair? Mr. President, Council President?
Yeah, Mr. Reyes.
I believe if we did 1 minute per speaker, I think it was about 24 cards. It might be right in that ballpark.
Okay, let's do 25 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
We'll do 25 minutes, 25 speakers. Mr. City Attorney? Yes?
Just as a reminder, items 7 and 8 are fair hearing matters requiring the heightened attention of the council members to either the speaker at the podium or to their monitors at their desks.
We will be on heightened alert. All right. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, this is one of those transformative projects that changes whole districts, whole regions. And I want to acknowledge and thank Councilor Zine for his stewardship, him and his staff, along with all the stakeholders and the applicant and those that are concerned with quality of life have been participating. What I've been told that hundreds of meetings in the community, several meetings during commission. We had it several times in committee as well, and now it's before us. It is the addresses of 6360 North Topanga Canyon Boulevard, 21700 through 21870 West Victory Boulevard, 21919-40 through 45 West Irwin Street, and 6351 North Owensmouth Avenue. These are the subject sites that are before us. I'd like to ask the council staff, the planning staff has been working with the council to come to the front desk. And as they're coming forward, there are 3 reports that are in front of you. I rise to move the 3 reports with all of its findings. I also want to make sure that for the record, we are including revised findings that are now submitted as part of the record, consistent with modifications made by the Plum Committee on February 7th. So it's not only the findings that were on the report, but given the articulation of concerns as expressed by Councilor Zine, which he will highlight as we finish the introduction of the site and as we finish these technical amendments, you will see that the findings that are submitted today will reflect the changes that have been agreed upon by the applicant and by the council office in conjunction with all the technical issues and legal issues as addressed by the staff. So if the staff can just give us an overview of what's in front of this council, I'd appreciate that very much.
Mr. Reyes.
Good morning, council members. Elva Nunez O'Donnell with the Department of City Planning. The Village at Westfield Topanga project is a 30-acre site in Warner Center in the West Valley. It involves approximately 1 million square foot of development to be developed in 2 phases and includes retail, restaurants, office, hotel, a theater option, and a community cultural uses. Also included is the project, it further provides for a very unique multi-use trail and pedestrian walkway, which would activate streets that are not activated at this time. In terms of the public participation, a concurrent public hearing was held on August 3rd, 2011, with the record held open for a week after the hearing to allow additional time for public comment. The cases were before the City Planning Commission on October 27th, which consisted of a 7-hour hearing. The appeals were before the Planning and Land Use Committee on 3 occasions, January 24th, January 31st, and February 7th, and there is no new additional information to report on these appeals. The Plum Committee, in terms of the tract appeal, recommended denial, and the CPC case was granted in part to further clarify 7 conditions from the City Planning Commission. Before you, you also have a development agreement of 15-year term.
Over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Zine.
I just want to acknowledge the number of meetings that took place on this matter. The Planning Commission, the Planning Department, the community. What we're talking about is the Westfield Village project. And somehow it got sidetracked to think it's just a 1-unit complex, which is more than that. You mentioned 30 acres. It's either 30 or 30 and a half or 31, but it's somewhere in the vicinity of 30 acres.
Correct.
And one of the big issues we had was traffic. One of the issues we had was jobs. One of the issues we had was how are we going to increase that land, which is not pristine, vacant land that has not been touched. It's an area that had a theater at one time, a restaurant at one time. A lot of it is just vacant with weeds. Westfield brought in an idea to build out this particular parcel. They own the north side, whereas Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, a Target, a number of retail stores. Westfield has a project in the west side, projects in other parts of Southern California, and they're known for their quality project. After numerous meetings in the community, neighborhood council meetings, meetings in my office with my staff, meetings over meetings over meetings, and I've lost track of how many meetings there were, it came to the consensus that we would support this project with a lot of conditions. And we're here today with the finality, with the conditions imposed that the project can move forward, that the build-out can take place, that a new community center for the senior population, for the community, will be established at the expense of Westfield, and a number of positive aspects to that particular parcel at the corner of Topanga and Victory. The folks that are here that are in support of this particular project, could you please stand so the council members could recognize that you're here in support of this project? This is the population that's supporting this project. There are folks that are here, and please be seated, thank you. There are folks that are here from various community groups, Chambers of Commerce, Boys and Girls Club. I see Jan Sobel way in the back. She didn't get here early enough to get a seat up in front, but Jan, thanks for being here. Rose Goldwater, the premier of the community, the Westfield folks, a ton of people that have been supporting this, that have come down here before, that have gone to meetings. Karen, who was the former chair of the neighborhood council with her mom, who's in the hospital recently, who's here in a wheelchair supporting this project. So there's wide-based support. The folks that are here came downtown today to show my colleagues that they really want this project to move forward. The building trades that are here to support this project. Can I have a show of support? Those please stand. The building trades that are here supporting this project. The building trades. So if I can have the Westfield folks bring that map, or that the photos. John, you want to bring those up so we can show the council what we're talking about with this project? Again, this is at the location of Topanga Canyon, which is a state highway, Victory Boulevard. And if we could display those for the audience at home, viewing on television, as well as my colleagues. The area we're talking about, the village, which will then help create this environment in connection with the north side, where we already have a build-out. It used to be Topanga Plaza. It's now Westfield Shopping Town. And you see on the photos, the one to the right is the full complement of what we're expecting to be built. The first phase will involve a number of buildings, a number of projects, in addition to our senior community center. So we're taking is that land that has been occupied in the past, that's sit vacant for a long time, and put energy and enthusiasm and jobs, help the sales tax of the local community, the city of Los Angeles. We have folks that understand the 1 million square feet, the shopping that we're going to have there, the tax revenues, the jobs, all ADA compliant, accessible by car, accessible by the Metro Orange Line. They are extending the Orange Line up into Mr. Englander's district, into the 12th district. So accessible by that. They're going to have bicycle and pedestrian friendly environment. It's also going to connect the Los Angeles River Bike Project network that Mr. Reyes is working on. New community center and an existing center that's going to be designed for the community, for our senior population, for the community at the expense of Westfield. They've been in my office many times meeting with my planning folks. I want to thank my chief of staff, Jimmy Blackman, and Jonathan Brand, who's now Mr. Labange's office, Daniel, and our new member who just joined us, Doug, on this planning. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of concern, a lot of issues. The bottom line is this project will bring a tremendous amount of opportunities, local hiring for the jobs. Once that's built, then we will have the opportunities for people who have employment and the sales tax that will come into the city of Los Angeles. So we're looking at a very positive benefit for the people of Los Angeles. So with that, Mr. Chair, if we could have the public comment time, and then we can take our continuation discussion on that.
Councilman Zahn, before we do that, I would like to ask Councilman Englander that you did push a button. So
I did. And I just wanted to, before we have all the public comment. I've heard a lot about this as well, since it does come up right against the district of CD12 as well. And I grew up in this area in the valley. I think I worked at every place at Topanga Mall as a kid and took my ice skating lessons there. I remember when there was an ice rink growing up there as well. This is a much needed change, and I want to compliment in advance. And I know there's still some concern from some of the members of the public, but I will tell you that Westfield and Dennis Zine and his staff have really worked hard in working with the community. This project that was proposed many years ago has gone through more public scrutiny and outreach than I've seen in many years on projects even half this size. This is an area that, quite frankly, right between the Promenade and Topanga, has been tired for many years. I remember years ago there used to be like this massive slip and slide right on Topanga Boulevard, and when that went out of business, nothing ever went back. It's been carnivals, it's been used car lots. I remember the Topanga Theater there many years ago as well, and nothing's really ever happened. And so with this vision and massive investment, not only creating the jobs and cleaning up the community in the area is a welcome addition, but with this investment, it will forever change that face and gateway of Warner Center and Woodland Hills. I think it's been so long overdue, but it's happening at the right time, where and after the much needed outreach has been done and collaboration efforts have been done and the mitigation has been negotiated, that I want to compliment the community for speaking up against the project and mandating and demanding that the impacts not affect the current residents there and only help the community. So thank you, Mr. Zine, for pushing them to do the right thing, and thank you for Westfield for doing the right thing. Appreciate it.
Okay, so now what I'm going to have Mr. Reyes, and then members, we're going to go directly to public comment. Right. Is that okay with you, Mr. Labange?
I just would want
go quick.
A future shopper visiting us from our sister city in China, Guangzhou. I wanted to welcome Shengsha here, who supports
Welcome.
this. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Reyes, and after you, let's go. We're going to go to public comment.
Well, I do want to take a moment and thank the stakeholders. We did have this item in the Ad Hoc River Committee. We did have representatives from the applicants as well as community folks step forward and speak to how we could bring back to life connectivity to the river corridor and this facility. This is the origins of the river as it begins, and so to include improvements for bike paths and walkways and pedestrian flows, these are all amenities that will be there for generations, and continue to build up that notion of converting our backyard into our front yard. So those are the types of improvements that you see in front of us, and I congratulate everyone, Councilmember Zine and your staff, for the tremendous work. And just to reiterate for the clerk that the items that have been submitted, the revision, which are the findings, pertain to several items as well. So I want to make sure that's there for the record.
Very good, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Alderson, what's the total cost estimated for the entire project for the 30 plus acres?
$450 million totally built out.
$450 million investment.
Yeah. Creating 7,500 jobs, Councilman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Okay, now, Cindy, did you already speak? Because I'm getting public comment.
No, sir. Councilmember Zine asked us to do a very brief presentation of the project. We'll just take maybe a minute or two to do that.
I will give you a minute or two to do that.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Westfield, we are delighted to be here today. And for the record, we know the council will be acting on item 2, which is the Caldera findings. The Los Angeles Police Department has been very supportive. At the request of Councilman Zine, we've worked out very detailed conditions with them to make sure that we improve and maintain security in the valley. And then in addition to that, I think you've already heard about all the work that's been done in the last 5 years to bring this wonderful project before you, and the action that the Plum Committee has recommended to you to deny the appeals, approve the planning entitlements, and approve the development agreement. I'm going to keep it very brief and just say that all the materials have been submitted to each of you, including a package of pictures. You should each have some pictures at your desk today, and we'd be happy to provide any more information, but let me turn it now to
Thank you. Okay, John, this is John Edelston.
Yes.
Alderson.
Thank you for the correction. Alderson is correct. I'm very pleased to be here today. Councilman Zine, thank you very much. I'd like to echo what Councilmember Englander said. This has been a very difficult process. It's taken several years. The councilman was very difficult on us at times, was very complimentary at others, but I'd like everybody to know that Councilman Zine pushed for the best project on behalf of his constituents, and we're very pleased to be here together today. Over the 260 meetings that I've had in the community, I think it's best not to hear from me, but to hear from those that are here today. I'd like to turn it over to them, and I'd like to make myself available for questions afterwards. As a reminder, it is a 1 million square foot project. It does create 7,500 jobs. It has Costco as an anchor retailer. It has a community center. It's got 275 room hotel, 285,000 square feet of office, and the remainder is retail.
Thank you, sir. Gordon Murley, Jeff Bornstein.
We'll talk about that.
Shirley Blessing.
There's nearly 2 miles of trails, Councilman Zine, and over 4.5 acres of open space.
Okay, when you close, Mr. Zine, we can wrap that up. Gordon Murley, Jeff Bornstein, and Shirley Blessing. Mr. Murley.
Honorable President Herb Wesson, we are the appellants. Once again, we can't present our case because you're giving us 1 minute. If this Circle really knew the whole story, and our problem with this is the city has said they don't care about the current specific plan. It's okay to take what should be pedestrian-oriented and make fully auto-oriented on a corner, and we brought up other things. In fact, most of the stuff you're going to hear today, we haven't heard at all, we haven't seen. It's been behind closed doors, negotiations, and we have not been privileged to comment on it. And at the last Plum meeting, we were denied even to speak while there were conferences with the applicant. So we think that the city is disenfranchising the way it should be in the public. Most of this project we would support.
Hey, Gordon, I've just been informed by our city attorney that you are the named appellant. I'd like to give you a few more minutes, if you will.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. But now the city attorney tells you this, but at the Plum Committee, he didn't allow us to speak. But the problem with this is most of it is a very good project, but the original one was much better. Somehow, Costco came in, and you have a big filling station, a 450-foot wall along a major boulevard. This is supposed to be pedestrian-oriented. But there are many other elements in here that we have talked about. We don't know at this point what the city has granted and not granted. They wanted to master alcohol. We said you can't put conditions on everyone, and if you give them one and they go to the state, there will be no conditions. We think this is unfair in both directions. It should be run as the city has its right to put conditions on each and every one. But also, there are a lot of mitigations and open space. While they'll tell you there's a lot of open space, we find there really isn't much that you would consider useful open space that you wouldn't have to put in. So if an empty flower pot is counted and you end up with percentages, it sounds wonderful. We just think this could be a much better project overall. But we have been locked out from the communications with the council office, and there has never been the decision makers that were willing to sit down with us to go over where we think this project would improve. So we know that you're going to pass this today, but it went from 500 new jobs with Costco coming in while it's there down to about 30 or 40 because they're closing the Costco in Canoga Park. So the whole picture hasn't really been put forth of what the city really could do. And this has been pushed through that we could not comment to the deputy advisory on the subdivision. That was part of the whole hearing, and people were disenfranchised, not being able to speak on conditional use and all the other segments of the project because they had 1 or 2 minutes in one public hearing.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Reyes,
thank
the
you.
chair of Plum, I'd like to refer to you for a point of clarification.
Thank you, Council President. I think it's important to state for the record, and it's unfortunate Mr. Murley is recalling the Plum Committee in that way. I, in fact, make sure the appellants are the first to speak, and we give them as much time to define the reason, the rationale, the posture on the basis of why are they appealing this case. So that was given ample time. Now, I might not have given him as much as he wanted, which is a different case, but we have several items in the agenda. I do my best to give the appellant as much time as possible, and I strongly believe that was given. Sometimes people want to get back and forth. Committee will never finish if that's allowed. So a statement was given by him and those that were appealing, and I want to state that for the record because it is misleading, the statements that were just made right now. Thank you.
Yes. Please come forward, next speaker.
Yes, I'm also one of the appellants as well, so I'd appreciate 3 minutes, just like Mr. Murley got.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. I am not here to keep men and women from working. I am here today to ensure the utmost public benefit for the local community from the Westfield proposed village project. The October 27th meeting of 2011 in Van Nuys was not ample in scope or adequately in scope or in time. 260 community meetings, and we only have one commission meeting, one single commission meeting for all those 260 community meetings. In that one meeting, October 27th, one commissioner even stated, and I quote, we are stressing here, we got this late and short on public benefit. That was the direct quote from a commissioner. Projects of this magnitude should not be rushed through. This is not due diligence. Specifically, where am I looking for more public benefit? The walkway bikeway on Victory Boulevard needs to be further back from the street. It's not appropriate. It should be more like White Oak or over by Woodley, where you have an offset so people can walk without being ogled as cars go by. You need to tie in public transportation prior to the building of the project, not after. How are we tying in the Orange Line? There is no answer to that. There is no answer to that. We need to tie in the Orange Line before the project starts to be built. It just makes sense. The gas station on the corner of Owensmouth and Victory is inappropriate for the specific plan. It calls for a pedestrian walkway, not 30 cars waiting to be gassed up as you try to walk by the fumes. That's so inappropriate. That gas station also has a water table problem. Costco needs to be further back from the street. On Sepulveda Boulevard, it's 60 yards from the street. On Tampa Avenue, it's 40 yards from the street. On Victory Boulevard, for the lovely people of Woodland Hills, it's 38 to 52 feet from the street. Why do we get the shaft in Woodland Hills? You have to have more input. You combine all these meetings, it makes for less input. I please ask for you to reconsider any support for this project at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think next we have Ms. Blessing, and after that we have Ken Metz, Tess Reyes Dunn, and Rose Goldwater. Welcome.
I'm
I'm Shirley Blessing, and I take exception to Councilman Reyes's comments on what was allowed at the hearing. I was only allowed 2 minutes at the first presentation, and the other 2 I was denied any time. I served on the first specific plan for Warner Center, a voting member, and I'm on the revised plan. I came down here today, and people that I know who are not here said, how foolish of you to come down here. It's been a done deal since day one. Don't you understand that? I'm here to let them see that it isn't a done deal, that you have some integrity to look at the project in another light. It's a project that is probably good, but in the wrong place, especially the filling station. This particular piece of property was supposed to be the jewel of the West Valley, and it was supposed to be the Century City of the West Valley. It has now become a wholesale dump. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have,
Right here. Come straight.
do we have Mr. Metz?
Yes.
Okay, and like I said, Tess Reyes Dunn and Rose Goldwater, if you could begin to make your way to the podium. Mr. Metz, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Council President, and I hope you might consider 1 extra minute, but let me, because I have something that I think will be a little different. My name is Ken Metz. I live in Chatsworth, and I'm a representative of the California Council of the Blind. I would like to say that in this particular project, I've been working a little bit right now with John Alderson and some of the other folks over at Westfield. What they are doing is absolutely incredible as far as I'm concerned in regards to both the needs of persons with disabilities as well as with senior citizens. We're working on making certain that there are going to be some excellent opportunities in being able to identify stores by having such things as detectable warning tiles. We're working on having some audible kiosks so that people could be more independent when they go to this particular new shopping center. We're working on trying to establish some shuttle bus or shuttle tram ideas so that people who would have difficulty walking in the large amount of acreage would be able to get back and forth to the places they need. We're looking at the possibility of persons with disabilities and people who are seniors going and trying to get all their shopping done in one location rather than trying to use access services or something else to get from place to place.
Thank you for coming down, Mr. Metz. Tess Reyes Dunn. Oh, I'm sorry. Before you, Mr. Reyes, for clarification.
Colleagues, again, for the record, the statement made that she was only given 2 minutes, that's accurate. Each person who's not an appellant who wants to speak is afforded 2 minutes. If you're an appellant, then you're offered more time than that. So again, for the record, I know it's a little complicated, but to move process, we have these rules that we need to abide by so we can get to a decision. So I'm sorry, could I give you more than 2 minutes, but that's the rule of the committee. Appellants are given more.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen, Mr. Zine. My name is Tessie Reyes Dunn, and I am a stakeholder in Winnetka since 1960. And I have seen a lot of changes in everything in the valley. And this project, I am very, very proud to say that I really, really would like to see it go on, and hopefully we'll be having our our first groundbreaking. Thank you very much, sir. And get all these guys back to work. They're here, they come in and they support us and everything, but they should be working. And thank you very much for having this outdoors. It reminds me of places in Europe that were absolutely fabulous. I do not like shopping. I will go there. So I highly support it with the Winnetka Neighborhood City Council, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for coming down.
You're welcome.
So let's have, as Miss Goldwater approaches, I'd like to, and when I call your name, please come to the podium. Ron Miller, David Kirsch, and Steve Pasco, please come forward. Miss Goldwater.
Yes, I am very pleased to be here today.
It reminds me when I testified on behalf of the Warner Center back in the late 70s, early 80s, and we have the wonderful Warner Center we have today, in spite of objections. Thank you, all the predecessors, for that. I come to speak on behalf now to another jewel that will be placed in the crown of the Warner Center, the Westfield Project, a company who is known round the world, who has built, who has rebuilt, and who keeps their property up in this day and age to put their money, the kind of money they're talking about, in an era where we are depressed, where we are in a recession and even a depression. I just had 1 minute.
Go, you finish it.
To give them the go-ahead, we need this. We want this. The Warner Center is no longer the stepchild of the city.
Okay.
It is an entity to itself. Please grant us
Thank
this.
you. Thank you. Okay, Ron. Bring up your guys.
Good morning, Council President, Council members. I'm Ron Miller with the LA Orange County Building Trades. I come to you on behalf of Robbie Hunter, our Executive Secretary, and 140,000 craftsmen and women that the LA Orange County Building Trades represents. We support this development as a project that will be good for the local community. The Building Trades has a commitment from Westfield to utilize high-skilled labor from the building trades and the local community, and also utilize joint labor management apprenticeship programs, which will train the workforce for tomorrow, while the finished product will create the opportunity and needs for thousands of good-paying permanent jobs. It is the construction industry that historically has led the nation out of past economic downturns, and this is one such project that can make a difference. I'd like to thank Councilmember Zine and his staff for help in working to ensure good quality projects within the local community and help to create good paying jobs.
Thank you, Ron. I need to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
What is the unemployment rate of the trades?
Right now, we're across all the trades, we're roughly around 40%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, followed by Steve.
Good morning. My name is David Kirsch. I'm here on behalf of the Carpenters Contractors Cooperation Committee, which is comprised of the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters and its signatory union contractors. I am here to show our strong support for this important project. This project will create thousands of good-paying construction jobs with health care and pension benefits, as well as apprenticeship training opportunities for the youth in our communities to have a chance at a rewarding and a productive career in the trades. At a time of economic difficulties, of double-digit unemployment figures in the construction industry, we applaud Westfield's actions to help stimulate the economy and create quality and long-term employment opportunities. This is consistent with Westfield's ongoing commitment to ensure that it works with responsible and top-quality contractors on its multiple development projects. This project will be a great asset to the Valley and an economic engine that will benefit the entire city through the additional tax revenue. I urge your support for this project. Let's get going and build it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I call Steve Pasco, I'd like to see Ron Wood, Paul Lawler, and Jan, I think it's Jan or John Sobel, please. Jan Sobel, please come forward. Yes, sir. Mr. Pasco.
Good afternoon, President Wesson and fellow commissioners. This has certainly been, to put it mildly, a long process. I think it's 5 years now. We've worked with Westfield for many, many years. They've always honored all their obligations to the Carpenters Union. They're willing to, when at time when over $2 trillion of money are sitting on the sidelines, are willing to bet that the future is going to be brighter, and we certainly would hope that you will make it brighter. You know, I have hundreds of members calling us at the locals asking, when are things going to get better? When am I going to be able to take care of my family, to get health care back? I'm going to be losing my home here soon if I don't get back to work. I hope that you today will give me the answer that I need to tell them, which is it's coming. It's coming very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Wood.
I'm Ron Wood, president of the Valley Economic Alliance. We are a private-public partnership which focuses on economic development for the Valley. On behalf of our board, we'd like to express our support and urge your support. Jobs are at the absolute heart of economic development, and this project delivers in spades. Quality construction jobs during the build phase and ongoing retail jobs thereafter. We cannot express our support enough. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, you know what, guys? Just in the interest of time, if you hold the applause to the end, we may more quickly get to the vote that people are anticipating. Paul?
Good, thank you. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for everything you do for our city. Can I get a hand from everyone? I had to do that. I really love you guys. Hello, my name is Paul Lawler, and I'm Vice Chair of Operations and Programs for the Woodland Hills Tarzana Chamber of Commerce. I'm here representing the Chamber of Commerce today and also the Tarzana Community and Cultural Center. On behalf of the Woodland Hills Tarzana Chamber of Commerce, I express our support for the village at Westfield Topanga. The project will improve the quality of life in West Valley and generate thousands of much-needed jobs here in Los Angeles. Throughout the entire process, Westfield has reached out to the community and organizations such as ours to seek our input for the project. Not many of the developments in Los Angeles have been designed with the community needs in mind like the village. It truly will be the jewel of the West Valley. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Now we're going to call up Jan Sobel. After Ms. Sobel, if we could get Diane Dietz, Karen Cole, and Joyce Cole to please come forward. Ms. Sobel, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Jan Sobel. I'm President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of the West Valley, and we are here to support on behalf of more than 3,100 children's families, the project that Westfield is bringing forth to you. Westfield is an amazing partner to the nonprofits in the West Valley. They support us not only with their funds, but also with their staff and other projects that we need from them. And we are really excited about the fact that they are considering, as part of the project, a community room that we can all use. I know we need a place for our teens to go on the weekends, and we're hoping that we'll be able to use this project. So on behalf of all the nonprofits who are supported by Westfield and the community at large, I want to thank Westfield for this amazing project, and we urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, council members. I'm Diane Dietz. I'm the chairman of the Woodland Hills Tarzana Chamber of Commerce. We enthusiastically support this development. We are the largest chamber of commerce in the San Fernando Valley. We have 730 business members. We have seen the dedication that the team at Westfield has provided, both to the community and to the stakeholders. And we want this development. Thank you.
No, thank you. Karen Cole and Joyce Cole. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. As you said, my name is Karen Coe, and I am a member of the Woodland Hills Warner Center Neighborhood Council. The council is most impacted by this project, and as Councilman Zine pointed out, I am its immediate past chair. I am here today to represent 225 households that are in favor of this project. I support the village at Westfield Topanga, and we appreciate the professionalism that Westfield has shown towards us and towards our neighborhood council, and we support this project in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joyce Cole. Can we give a portable mic? Yeah, thank you.
Hi. Hello. My name is Joyce Coe, and I would like to speak in support of the village at Westfield, Topanga. I was born in the San Fernando Valley almost 84 years ago. I have personally witnessed its tremendous growth and development. Based on the information which I have read and the schematics which I've seen, I'm convinced that this development will enhance and enrich the Woodland Hills community. I personally spent hours walking around the Woodland Hills neighborhoods to gauge the feeling and opinion of my neighbors in this regard. I collected more than 225 postcards in support of the project. My opinion is that this is thoroughly well-planned development, and I support its implementation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Judith Solster, Adolph Navarro, Michelle Dornfest, please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning, council members. I live in the Dennis Sign District, just 1 mile west of the village. I represent my family. The Soyster family is pleased to bring this council this message. We want the project to go forward and hope you will vote for approval today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adolph Navarro. And members, you need to return to your seats. Now, yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. I represent Southern California Pipe Trades, Local 761 in the Valley. I grew up in Canoga Park, which is a mile away from the project. Since 1959, I've been there. I live on Alabama Street. I grew up from the streets, took an apprenticeship program, got into that, was able to move up. I want to tell you guys something. You guys get this project going. It will put a lot of people to work. You know, and not only that, I've seen the place grow up from the beginning. It's nothing, I could see nothing but positive there and put a lot of our community to work. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And we're now going to have Michelle Dornfest, but followed by Lynn Rugger, John Parker, Nora Ross. If you could please come forward now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I am Vice Chair of Governmental Affairs for the Calabasas Chamber of Commerce. Calabasas is located in the San Fernando Valley, which is where the project is being built. I'd like to focus quickly on the environmental aspects of this project. I can attest to the fact that Westfield will be sensitive to all aspects of the environment and energy efficiency. Westfield representatives asked to visit the Calabasas Civic Center recently, which is LEED Gold certified, and studied LEED certification. I know that the Westfield project will also be LEED certified, and I believe if anyone were to ask, will this project really make a difference? This project will make a significant difference in our community, contribute to the environment, and make a better future for all of us.
Thank you very much. Next, please come forward.
Councilpersons, thank you for taking my comments. My name is Lynn Ruger, and I've lived with my husband, Frank Ruger, at 5800 Owens Mouth since 1981, 31 years. I support Village at Westfield. I have a few reasons that support that decision. I know that Westfield knows how to operate a mall. I walk there at Westfield, Topanga at least twice a week and find them all to be immaculate, have good security, a good mix of stores, and more. They have frequent, well-publicized activities for the community. There is a community center planned for the village, and they are green. I've seen them installing solar on the top at Westfield, Topanga, and the buildings will be LEED certified. On a very practical note, they have money, a commodity that isn't readily available in this economy. After careful consideration, I believe the time to move forward is now. I thank everyone for all of their endless hours and support to move this project forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Parker.
Good morning. My name is John Parker. I'm the current chairman of the United Chambers of Commerce of the San Fernando Valley. Our office is located in Van Nuys. I'm here on behalf of the United Chambers who voted unanimously to support the village at Westfield. This project will generate much needed revenue to the city and create thousands of high quality jobs for local residents. The project no doubt will help retain, expand and attract key business within our community. It is a project that has been designed with the needs of the community in mind, with new linear parks and community gathering spaces. We commend Councilman Dennis Zine for bringing the development into the valley, and we urge the council members here today to support the village. On behalf of the United Chambers of San Fernando Valley, we ask that you approve the project so we can get the valley back to work. Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring up Ms. Ross, followed by Stuart Waldman, Jim Kinsey, Jim Brahmer, and they will be the last speakers for today. But we will also enter into the record all of the individuals that came here today to speak on behalf of this project. So with that said, good afternoon and welcome, Ms. Ross.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Nora Ross. I'm the Executive Director for the Canoga Park West Hills Chamber of Commerce at 7248 Owens Mouth in Canoga Park. On behalf of the Canoga Park West Hills Chamber, I'm here to express our strong support for the village. Based on our research, this project will bring needed growth and new business to the community. That the village will create a substantial amount of temporary and permanent job opportunities for the communities of Canoga Park and West Hills. This project has been well received by the community members. The residents are excited to see this become a reality. I'd like to especially thank Councilman Zine for his continued support for the responsible projects like the village and bringing it to the West Valley. Now that we are in the home stretch, we have been waiting for a long time for this moment, and I hope you as council members are here and move forward to vote in favor of this project. On behalf of the chamber, we urge you to support the village. Thank you.
I really, the yeah part, that sold me, yeah. You don't look like Stuart.
I don't, but I'm representing Stuart.
This is what I will do. We generally don't let people speak on behalf of other people, and I do believe I saw Stuart earlier. Fill out a card. I will let you speak because of the organization VICA, and I know that you have a message from them, and I think it's important that the council hear that, but we do not substitute, so in the future, as a backup, fill out your own card. So go ahead, sir. Identify yourself and speak.
Thank you. My name is Doug Arsenault. I'm here representing Stuart Waldman and the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. VICA represents more than 370 businesses in our city that have supported over 100,000 jobs. Westfield has a long history as a committed community partner that invests responsibly. The village at Westfield Topanga will be a positive addition to the Warner Center. This project will create thousands of jobs for Angelenos in the Valley and contribute to increased economic output for our greater region. We applaud Councilman Zine for supporting this new investment into Warner Center, and we urge the council to approve the village so that it can break ground as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before the next speaker, I just want to inform the public that we do have members that are paying attention. Some of them are sitting behind their seats. Some may be in the restroom, but they are focused on this and paying attention to what's going on today. Jim Kinsey.
Good afternoon. Thank you, council members. My name is James Kinsey. I'm the CEO and president of the Valley Cultural Center in Woodland Hills. We are the producers of Concerts in the Green, the Dennis P. Zine July 4th Extravaganza, and Movies on the Green. And I would like to yield the rest of my time to our chairman, Jim Brammer, please, who will speak on behalf of the Cultural Center.
Just because I'm tired, I will allow you to do that.
And you saved the best for last. Thank you for that.
Okay, you got 38 seconds. Wrap it up.
Hello, I get a minute and 38 seconds. I get my time as well.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Jim Brammer. I'm the chairman of the Valley Cultural Center and a small business owner in Tarzana. I'm here today on behalf of the Valley Cultural Center to express our strong support for the village at Westfield Topanga. Westfield has been a long-standing partner in the community, and we're excited that they share our vision to enhance the West Valley in meaningful ways. The village is a project we can all be proud of. It will bring thousands of new jobs to the local community and boost our economy in the valley and beyond. In addition to significant new anchor tenants, Westfield is looking at including small businesses to create a true village atmosphere. The project will also create a new community destination with beautiful open spaces and landscaped, pedestrian-friendly streetscapes, offering opportunities for cultural enrichment as well. This is exactly the type of development we need in the valley today. We're proud to have Westfield in our community and look forward to seeing this new community gathering space in the West Valley. Councilman Zine, we thank you for helping bring the village to our community. On behalf of the Valley Cultural Center, I urge the entire council to approve the village project today so we can bring new jobs and community benefits to the valley. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And it's a pleasure to meet you. Okay, so again to our crowd here today, Mr. Zine, we're going to enter these public comment cards into the record. I want to thank everybody for coming down and turn it over to Mr. Zine so that we can begin to land this plane.
Thank you, Mr. President. For those in the community, thank you for coming down. I know it's a long trek, and I do that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from the San Fernando Valley to downtown. So I know what you've gone through today. We appreciate that. The Planning Commission had a day-long hearing on this matter. This has been going on for a long, long time. There were no secrets. There were no hidden agenda. And I pressed Westfield constantly about the issues that the community brought to me. The transportation issues, the traffic issues, the gas station issue. The fact is not just a Costco, but everything else in the development that we agreed upon. We went through all that. The ABC, alcoholic beverage control, to make sure we have proper restrictions and conditions. The public benefit, that fact that they're giving us a senior community center. They're going to give us a second one in the build-out. We're going to currently use the one on Victory, on Van Owen, I should say, in Owens Mouth, the old Sizzler. They've bent over backwards to help us. And what really I find amazing is that we have an economic downturn in this country, in this city, and we have an opportunity to create jobs, to help the environment, to do something quality for the West San Fernando Valley that oftentimes people said was a stepchild to the city of Los Angeles. It's not a stepchild. And I would like Mr. Larry Green to come forward because I want to put you on the hot seat, Mr. Larry Green. Come on forward here. Since you're standing over there in the aisle, we had many, many meetings with you, many, many meetings with other representatives from Westfield on this project. And I remember one meeting we had at a school. It was a turnout of the community. And I think when we come to this final conclusion, we're going to take this vote today from the City Council, we had three people who said we don't want this for a variety of reasons. You've got 98% or 99% of the community that's saying we support it, from the chambers, from the community groups, benefit this community. And you've given me your word. This is going to be a quality project. It's going to help the environment. It's going to help the community. And I just want you to say publicly that you're going to live up to your commitment for the Southwest San Fernando Valley. Larry Green.
We are absolutely going to live up to our commitments, Councilman Zine, absolutely 100%.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, all the issues that we've discussed, all the issues that have been through committee, all the issues that have gone through the 200-plus meetings in the community, the neighborhood council, et cetera, the adjoining neighborhood councils, the chambers, the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber, John Parker, and all the folks that are here today have taken time away from their businesses to show support for this project. And whether you're a council member from San Pedro, newly elected, because I know you're going to have something in your district that you want us to support, or other parts of this great city of the Angels, this project is important for the West San Fernando Valley. This project is important for jobs, for the economy, and for the betterment of that community of Woodland Hills. So I urge my colleagues to please support this. We need to move this forward for the opportunities for the people of the city of Los Angeles. So I request an aye vote, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Okay, with that said, I've been informed by the city clerk that we have to take 2 votes on this item, that we vote separately on item 2, and that items 7, 8, and 17 can be combined. Is that accurate?
That is correct, sir.
Mr. Reyes, did you have anything to say, or can we begin the voting process?
Let's land the plane.
All right. So let's take up item number 2, With that, let us open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
On items 7, 8, and 17.
Mr. President,
Mr.
before
Clerk?
voting, just for clarification, 7, 8, and 17 are with revised findings that have been submitted to the clerk's office.
Thank you so very much. So let's, on those 3 items, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations, Mr. Zine. Mr. Clerk, what order of business? Again, thank you all for coming down.
Forthwith, please.
And Mr.
Forthwith.
Zine wants that forthwith. Mr. Clerk, where are we?
Mr. President, that leaves item number 12. And for clarification, motion 12A has been submitted and distributed to the body for its consideration.
Thank you, sir. At this point in time, I want to defer to Mr. Krikorian.
Mr. President.
In fact, Mr. Krikorian, why don't we take like a 30-second break so that...
I just wanted to ask that item number 33 be sent forthwith, please, Mr. President.
Okay, so on item 33, that's forthwith. Mr. Alarcon wants 26 forthwith. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as you know, item 12, the responsible banking ordinance, has been in the works for a very long time, and we're finally now able to bring it to council. I want to take a moment to recognize Councilmember Alarcon for his diligence in pursuing this issue, and also excuse me, the CAO's office, Miguel Santana and his staff, and the rest of the city staff for really hammering out a policy that we heard in Budget and Finance at length, and which is continuing to be refined a little bit more even as we speak. And there is an amending motion that's been circulated before you. But this has really been the way policymaking should be done, and it has developed a wide consensus of support. And I'd like to ask that the CAO come forward and briefly present on this matter.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Miguel Santana, CAO. I'm joined by the Treasurer, Finance Director.
Antoinette Cristobal.
So what you have before you is a work product that's taken a couple years in the making, but what it seeks to do is really strike a balance between our responsibility as a city to get the best deal for taxpayers, while at the same time seeking to do business with those organizations that do good to our community. And so what we did is provide a recommendation that allows the city to be a more informed, more effective consumer by asking questions about the kind of good work or not so good work that some of our financial institutions are doing within the city of Los Angeles. What we also did is strike a balance between those financial institutions that we work with on a commercial level, those that, for example, hold our checking account, and those institutions that we work with on the investment banking side. In some cases, some of those institutions are the same, like JP Morgan Chase or Bank of America or Wells Fargo, but in many cases they're not. They're smaller organizations, some of them minority and women-owned businesses, particularly on the investment side, that we've been working with over the last few years to help in doing the kind of transactions in my office in particular. The treasurer issues an RFP on a regular basis every 5 years, 5 to 10 years for a commercial bank. And for those commercial bankers, the kinds of questions we'll be asking are specific to commercial banking. So things pertaining to small business loans, home loans, their participation in the city's foreclosure policies, etc. For the investment community, we'll be asking questions specific to them, primarily looking at their charitable giving in the city of Los Angeles, looking at their participation promoting other small women and minority-owned businesses, and how they're engaged in good corporate citizenship within the city boundaries. The goal is to make this information not just available to you as policymakers, but also make it available to the public. And behind me, there's a number of advocacy groups that have dedicated their careers on holding financial institutions accountable. And I'm pretty much guarantee that with this information that would be available to them and updated annually, they will be then able to then inform us as to which institutions are doing a better job than others. And so while the city itself won't be rating or grading financial institutions, in part because it's not part of our core mission and also very difficult from a cost standpoint, I trust that many of the organizations behind me will in fact be doing that. I'll turn it over to the Treasurer Finance Director to add any more.
Thank you. I just want to say that I echo what the CAO advised the Council. We do concur with Antoinette Cristobal, City Treasurer. We do concur with the recommendations of the Budget and Finance Committee, and we look forward to working with the CAO's office as well as the advisory group on moving forward a responsible banking program that will be beneficial to the City of Los Angeles.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon. In fact, sir, you need to recommend to me how you want to proceed.
Actually, I believe there's quite a few people that wanted to speak on this. If we could have a 20-minute public hearing allowing each speaker a minute each. There was a public hearing in the Budget and Finance Committee. In recognition of the general trend here of support, I think if we could have a 1-minute time period for each speaker and limit it to 20 speakers.
Okay, I will call the first 20 members who've signed up for public comment. That's Carol Schatz, Samuel Chu, I can't make out this first name, Magdalena Sierra. If you could please come forward.
Thank you. Carol Schatz, President of Central City Association. This compromise has been 2 years in the making. It's an imperfect compromise on an issue that, frankly, we believe the city has no business dealing with at all, but nonetheless, we will support this compromise and ask you to do the same. The original proposal, we felt, was fiscally irresponsible and a misuse of scarce city resources and clearly duplicative of extensive information provided by banks to several federal agencies. After countless hours, the CAO, the Department of Finance, and others have spent on this issue, they are proposing this compromise. There is no reason to delay it, and substantive amendments would undo all of this hard work. We are supporting this compromise, and we ask you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I'm Samuel Chu. I serve as president of the Industrial Area Foundation affiliate 1LA here in Los Angeles, representing about 65 different organizations. And I think what is sometimes not known about organizations is that not only are we schools and congregations, but we represent hundreds of small businesses. That we believe that this is a time for the city to rise up and stand up and say that we want to be better consumers. We want to be, in this difficult times, help to restart the economy here in Los Angeles. One of the specific piece of work in the responsible banking ordinance is that we want data and information shared publicly of how banks are responding to the foreclosure crisis by doing meaningful principal reductions. And I want to again commend Councilmember Alacone and Councilmember Cardenas and Councilmember Garcetti, who have worked with us closely to make sure that the Housing Department adopted that program and is funding it. And that money needs to be used, and we need to know how they're being used here. And I want to just thank you for the opportunity. I thank you, Councilmember Alacone, and I want to give a special thank you for Sarah Brennan from the Alacone staff for working on this so hard.
Thank you. Next.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Magdalena Sierra y represento a Good Job LA.
One moment. Do we have a translation equipment? Is it working? One moment.
Okay.
Please continue.
Okay. Yo vengo a pedir. Mi nombre es Magdalena Sierra.
Good afternoon. My name is Magdalena Sierra.
Okay. Represento a Good Job LA.
I represent Good Job LA.
Okay. Yo vengo a pedirles que por favor paren a los bancos de estar estafándonos ya, quitándonos las propiedades.
I would like to ask you to please stop the banks from swindling us, from taking our properties illegally.
Y que hagan cumplir lo que el gobierno federal quería para nosotros.
And also have them do what the federal government wanted for us.
Y que nos dieran las modificaciones.
Which is that they wanted the banks to give us the modifications.
Los bancos están tratando a toda costa de quitarnos nuestro patrimonio.
The banks are trying everything with their possibility to take away our heritage.
Con puras mentiras, estafas, y no quieren darnos las modificaciones.
Using lies and fraudulent activities, and they do not, at the end of the day, want to give us modifications for our loans.
A mí ya van 3 planes que me dan. Yo ya los he cumplido y hasta ahorita no me han dado nada de modificación.
They've offered me 3 different plans, and I've met all the 2 different plans and carried them out. And to date, they have not given me any modification.
Y le he demostrado al banco que podemos pagar la casa.
And I have showed the bank that we are able to pay for the house.
Y hasta ahorita nada de modificación.
And to date, we still haven't received a loan modification.
Por favor, quiero que los investiguen para que se den cuenta todas las mentiras y todos los fraudes que nos están haciendo a nosotros, los hispanos.
Please investigate the banks so you can find out all the lies and all the fraud that they're doing against us, all of us Hispanics.
Que siempre somos las víctimas.
Because the Hispanics, us, we're always the victims.
Porque no sabemos el idioma.
Because we don't know how to speak the language.
Es todo, gracias.
That's all, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Michelle Shogart, Mario Brito, and Ron Mullahill. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, members of City Council, Honorable President. I'm a resident of Los Angeles, California, 3236 Griffin Avenue. Council District Number 1. How you doing, Ed? I'm here on behalf of Good Jobs LA as a field director for Good Jobs LA and also helping found the Occupy movement here in Los Angeles. And I remind myself of the great act you did in passing that resolution in support and being the first city to pass resolution in support of the Occupy movement. But a resolution in support of the Occupy movement without any teeth is a resolution that's just in paper. And today you have an opportunity to make that first step forward of making that dream that we talked about, the American dream, which has been taken away from us by banks, And let's not cry any crocodile tears about poor banks having to do more paperwork. I'm sorry. You know, I have no tears for the banks who have broken our economy, who have broken the economy of South LA, who have broken the economy of San Fernando Valley, who have broken the economy of East LA. This is your opportunity to hold them at least somewhat accountable to the public. Then it's up to us to force you to stop doing business with them once the information's out.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning. I'm Ron Mulvihill with 1LA and also represent the many volunteers of St. Vincent de Paul that have been working with 1LA on the foreclosure prevention principal reduction plan. We commend Councilman Alicorn and the members of the Budget and Finance Committee, and especially Miguel Santana, for recognizing the significant importance of having all financial institutions doing business with the city be accountable to the people of Los Angeles. Council members, each one of you represent the financial interest of the city. Many of you have significant numbers of members who are at risk of losing their homes in your districts, including in Cardenas's district, Alicorn's, Krikorian's, Wesson's, Parks, Perry, Huizar, and Busquiano. All of you have been hit with this financial crisis. The City of LA has been awarded up to $10 million from the California Finance Housing Administration for the hardest hit funds for the principal modification. This fund and this ordinance would help us.
Thank you, Ron. If I give you more time, then I'll have to do the same for everybody else. I'm missing somebody. Michelle? Well, we'll get to you. So I don't see Michelle. I thought it was Shodert or Shogart. Carlos Mariquin, please come forward. Followed by Carlos Mariquin, Rupik Bagdasarian, and Ruth Sarnoff.
I'm Michelle Schacht. I'm with Occupy Fights Foreclosure Subcommittee of Occupy LA. I live in the 14th District. And we are working not to be railroaded. We're grasping at straws and working for a national moratorium on behalf of desperate homeowners too ashamed by their victimization by banking fraud to come forward. What's been proposed is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Investment banking is securitization banking, and it's responsible for massive fraud against homeowners. We need a strong ordinance from LA to create pressure on the county recorder, state attorney general, and the Obama administration. The Budget and Finance Committee recommendation is too reasonable. The reason is naked banking interests. They want to bury the ordinance and make sure that our one tool for leveraging the wide-scale foreclosure fraud is ineffectual and watered down. Please insist on a scorecard. Please don't split hairs on deposit and securitization banking. And please, please increase the voice of the 99%.
Thank you. Okay. Carlos Mariquin, Rupik Bagdasarian, Ruth Sarnoff. Yes, please.
You at Ruth Sarnoff, I think. I wanted to bring to your attention on the report from the Housing Authority here on page 8 and page 9. I want to draw your attention to the gross inequity of attention to different interests in our community. Unless my math is wrong, Wells Fargo, through its LIFT program, it was 10.5 billion. That's a B. Now $1 billion is, I believe, $10,000 million. Okay, that's for mortgage lending in the metro area. Okay, and only 15 million, a pittance, toward partnering with Neighborhood Works America, and they have some other grant programs and different kinds of stuff here. It's too detailed to go into. Also today, I want to bring. Can I have another minute?
Thank you. No, I understand, but I can't. It's a minute. It's 1 minute for everyone. So the next speaker is Mr. Bagdasarian here. Mr. Bagdasarian here? Mr. Bagdasarian, please. And you could submit any paperwork that you have to the sergeants. Mr. Bagdasarian? Are you Mr. Bagdasarian?
Yes, I am Rubik Bagdasarian. Good afternoon, President and Councilman, everybody here. I got my complaint in the city. I bought it 17534 Castelmare property, 2004. Try build a dream house there. No city can put a sewer line inside the middle of my property. Until now, 6 years, no my permission, nothing. I paid property tax. I try build it all the time. Grading department deny my plans. I hire 3 different geological engineers. Each one deny. I spent $98,000. I'm not get a permit. Only for that sewer damaged my property. Please check it. See must be what doing. Keep it my right through. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Eichley, Yolanda Lopez, and Alan Alayi.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Eichley. I'm a member of Occupy Los Angeles and Occupy Fights Foreclosures, and I would hope that we could get a friendly amendment on this ordinance so that way more advocates are on the working group. I'm afraid that with just 2 community advocates and 2 redevelopment or reinvestment advocates, the banks and the government representation outweighs the 99% voice in this. I'd also like to see the investment banks judged on securitization, especially in regards to mortgage-backed securities, which got us into this mess. I don't want to weigh too heavily on the CRA score because it's in part come to by the Federal Reserve, which is not a federal government entity, but a private centralized bank which creates currency in America. And also, if you're having trouble paying for somebody to come up with the scores or go through the information, can't you apply an application fee to it? I would like to see, thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez, followed by Alan Alayi. So if I could see Alan come to the podium right behind Ms. Lopez. Yes.
Buenas tardes. I need a traduction, please.
Oh, here, Alan.
Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva.
Good afternoon, members of
Mi
the board.
nombre es Yolanda López.
My name is Yolanda Lopez.
Estoy aquí este día representando a Buenos Trabajos LA
I'm here today representing Good Jobs LA.
y a la comunidad de la ciudad de Campton.
I'm also representing the Compton community.
Y necesitamos que ustedes tomen en cuenta nuestras palabras.
And we need for you to take into consideration our comments.
Para ver que los bancos tomen responsabilidad de sus propiedades.
And make sure that the banks take responsibility
Porque no es
of the
justo
properties.
Lo que están haciendo a la comunidad.
Because it's not fair what the banks are doing to our community.
Esto no afecta solamente a mí, a mi comunidad, los afecta a todos ustedes.
Because this doesn't only affect myself or my community, it also affects all
es
you
nuestra
guys.
responsabilidad como ciudadanos.
Because that's our responsibility as citizens.
No estamos violando solamente los derechos humanos de una persona.
We're not only violating the human rights of only one person.
Estamos violando también el derecho, el derecho donde dice el derecho a la bandera, donde dice
we're also violating the right to our flag,
justicia para todos.
Where states that there has to be justice for all.
¿Dónde está la justicia? Me pregunto yo.
What I ask myself is, where is justice in reality?
Y solamente para la conciencia de todos ustedes.
And only for your conscience, the conscience of all of you.
No hagas a otros lo que no quieres que te hagan a ti.
Don't do unto others what you don't want done unto you.
Gracias y que Dios los bendiga.
Thank you. May God bless.
Thank you. Alan? Okay, what about Cook, Wayne, Ryan, Bell, Yolanda Brown? If I could see, I'm looking for Ryan Bell and Yolanda Brown.
Good afternoon.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Cook Wayne. I'm representing Good Jobs LA. I don't stand here alone as someone that's felt the sting of foreclosures. I've also felt the sting of losing my job because the small company that I work for couldn't procure a loan to keep the establishment going. But on the topic of foreclosures, our city, as of January 25th, at least 11,242 properties faced foreclosure. And the banks right now, as we speak, are actively filing foreclosure papers, and that's ridiculous. Our city, first of all, the city should stop doing business with these banks. Real talk. No jobs, no homes, no committees. No communities, I should say. No communities. Suffering communities only lead to a weak city and an unhealthy city. So as a start, we ask, and we support the passage of the responsible banking ordinance, and we ask for the amendment.
Thank you.
So we can start holding these banks accountable.
Thank you. Next. Please go forward.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bell. I'm a clergy leader with LA Voice and pastor of the Hollywood Adventist Church. And I'm here to just represent my members, members of my congregation and my community, so many of whom feel powerless in the face of this economic crisis, especially those who are facing foreclosure. And with this action today, if the City Council will pass this motion, the city then makes a powerful statement that they stand with the members of our community against the corrupt practices of banks that have destroyed our economy and shipwrecked our families. For us, this is a moral issue, and we've moved, myself and 4 of my colleagues in Los Angeles, other pastors, have moved $2 million of our church's money out of Bank of America and Wells Fargo. And with this action, the city can take a stand with the moral leaders of our community to do the right thing for the families and members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Good afternoon, Council President Wesson and Council members. My name is Yolanda Brown, and I am a member of LA Voice Clergy, and I pastor Blessed Sacrament Church, a major presence in the Hollywood community. Starting with over 800 Angelinos in the year 2010, we met at Blessed Sacrament and appearing here several times as expressed at this week's Budget and Finance Committee meeting. I am grateful to the CAO, his office, the committee, and today to this council, especially the distinguished council members Alarcon, Garcetti, Labange, and Wesson for working diligently with our communities in developing this responsible banking ordinance so that homeowners will not become homeless and small businesses can become established and thrive as long-term employers. We still have a lot of work to do, but hopefully this ordinance will encourage banks to be partners in our communities. And as a former bank executive, I am grateful to J.P. Morgan and to Bank of America and other financial institutions for the letters of support and partnership, and I will continue to pray for other banks for their substantial investments in our communities. Please pass this responsible banking ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beverly Kenworthy, Doug Arsenault, on behalf of Stuart Waldman, Melvina Bogan, please come forward. Hi.
Hi. Beverly Kenworthy with the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber has a long record of actually being on record questioning the need for this ordinance, whether it meets the criteria of core city services and core city functions, and whether it puts the city's fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer at risk. We believe that the CAO has drafted a compromise that protects the taxpayer and does not stretch city resources further. And for that reason, we are not going to oppose this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Quasi and Kuma, if you could come up.
Thank you, Council President. My name is Doug Arsenault of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. VICA represents more than 370 businesses in our city that support over 100,000 jobs. While VICA maintains its position that the responsible banking ordinance is counterproductive to the city's goals, we are willing to accept the compromise that arose from the Budget and Finance Committee. The CAO has done an admirable job in drafting a proposal that takes into account both the concerns of citizen groups and the practical needs of the city. We look forward to the city working with its financial partners as this ordinance is implemented so that the RBO's impacts do not significantly hinder the recovery of our city and its businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Melvina Bogan. I am a member of ACE and a longtime resident of San Pedro. My husband and I have always worked hard and were able to save up adequate money to buy a home with a 20% down payment. Despite our best planning, we, like so many others, we were impacted by the economic crisis. While we continued to make our house payments, we realized that we were eligible for a home loan modification and reached out to Wells Fargo in hopes of getting one. For over a year, we attempted to get a modification and were continually denied by Wells Fargo despite the fact that we met all of the federal guidelines and qualifications. We know that the city has over $30 billion invested in big banks like Wells Fargo. It is important for city officials to evaluate information like how well, or in this case poorly, a bank is complying with federal modification programs before deciding where to put our city dollars. We need a public process for our taxpayers to view how the city is investing its money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
My name is Kwasi Nkrumah. I'm the co-chair of Occupy the Hood. I'm also the co-chair of the Martin Luther King Coalition for Jobs, Justice, and Peace here in Los Angeles. Right now, the banks are in a very overdrive mode in foreclosure. There are 3.5 million homes slated for foreclosure nationwide. The banks have foreclosed on 12 million homes in the past 4 years. We are working daily with families that have applied for loan modifications. When the federal HAMP program was set up to aid homeowners through refinancing, the banks sat on that program. Only 700,000 homeowners nationwide have been accepted permanently into that program that was designed for 9 million homeowners. The banks are guilty of massive fraud and dispossession, illegal dispossession of homeowners in our communities. We need this banking responsibility ordinance passed, and we need a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon, we got to every public comment card.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, excuse me.
I've been called worse than Mr. Chairman, but Mr. President, I kind of like that.
Coach. Council members, I just want to say that I think, having been the son of a business owner, my dad was in business for 45 years. And whenever he had to purchase from a vendor, he had to do due diligence to ensure that he was getting services not just based on price, but based on the quality of service he received in total. My wife, who's been in business 20 years, does the same thing. When she goes to the bank, it makes a difference that she can stand in the business line and not have to stand in the other line. She gets expedited treatment. That's extra service. Has nothing to do with the interest rate or the fees charged. I find it interesting that the business community, while supporting the compromise, has made very negative comments about what we're doing here, when all we're doing is due diligence in working with our vendors. It is our responsibility, and I would question any of those same business leaders as to whether they would allow their business to be conducted without checking to see whether the bank that they are going to work with is going to provide additional services. Expedited handling on contracts, what is the interest rate, but not only the interest rate, but what other services will you provide? Will you provide me with a line of credit? And people will make decisions, businesses will make decisions on what kind of services they get, in addition to the interest rate and the checking accounts and all that other stuff. We all know that. So I frankly don't understand the controversy, because all this has been proposing to do is to put the city in the position of receiving information on the totality of services that banks render to our community, because this is our community's money. It is not our money. And we have the fiduciary responsibility We have the responsibility to ensure that the vendors that we work with are not just giving us a good interest rate, but that they in fact are treating our community with dignity and quality of service that is part of our responsibility to ensure. When we handle billions of dollars in transactions on behalf of the taxpayers, we owe it to the taxpayers to ensure that they are also getting the benefit of the providers of service in their communities. So I think it is fair to ask the banks when they are competing for business, how many foreclosures did you process? How many small business loans are you doing? How many branches do you have in financially challenged areas? How many employees do you have as a total picture that come out of Los Angeles? How many jobs are you creating? What are your executive opportunities for economically challenged people who come from economically challenged regions? I mean, these are fair questions to ask, because at the end of the day, if they can comply with all of those investments into our community, guess what? It improves the quality of life in our community, and it improves the quality of our revenue stream, because they will be doing better. Even our government will be doing better by virtue of getting more revenue. So this is a very simple notion. This is simply saying that when we transact business with financial institutions, we do our due diligence, just as they would if they were transacting, if we were the vendor to them. And so with that, let me just say that I appreciate the work that we have done with the CAO. I want to thank the President of the City Council, Mr. Wesson, for expediting this at the end here, and especially to Paul Krikorian and the Budget and Finance Committee for moving it forward so quickly. I accept the compromise. There are some technicalities that we have to introduce that I have consulted with the CAO on and the Budget Chair, and we are in agreement. The scoring piece is something that if I had to rely on just my vote and not a majority of City Council votes, I'd do in a minute. But that is not going to happen today. I don't have to know too much math to know that we don't have the votes. But I can tell you this: the information that will be gathered by the CAO and by the Treasurer is information that will be very useful to the community, that you, in fact, will be able to score it. And if we have a company that's trying to get business from us, and the community looks at their score and says, hey, wait a minute, not their score, excuse me, their information, and says, wait a minute, why are we transacting business with this company that was convicted of fraud related to municipal funds? Then that's a fair question to ask, and you can score them yourselves. So with that, I think we've done a lot of work over the last 3 years on this issue. I want to thank my staff, especially Sarah Brennan, who was the vanguard on this issue for me. But let me move a couple of things, and I don't think I have much more to say after that. So we'll let... But if I reserve the right to press my button later. Let me move, first of all, that the Budget and Finance Committee's report, Instruction 1, be amended in the following manner: that the language requested that the City Attorney prepare and present draft ordinance relative to commercial banking services include the phrase "include but not limiting to" before specifying the information that will be included in the draft ordinance. The reason to do that is on the non-commercial side, we included the language to allow for information beyond foreclosures and what was the other thing? Foreclosures and small business lending, but there are other things that we need to be included. So we just said included but not limited to that information. And secondly, I move that an additional instruction be amended to the Budget and Finance Committee report, requesting that the CAO report back to the Council with the information that will be requested in the Banking Responsibility Ordinance criteria within 90 days of the passage of the ordinance. With that, I do support Mr. Krikorian's initiated amendment. I seconded the amendments, and I think this is a very good day for Los Angeles if we pass this ordinance.
Councilman Alfonso, you do need a second for the motion, correct? Is there a second for the motion?
Bill.
Second? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Councilman Alarcon. Our next speaker is Councilman Rosendahl.
Yes, this is a historic moment. It is the beginning. It's not the end. It's a step in the right direction. The banks need to be held accountable for their previous action, their present action, and their future action. We all need the banks in an operating way for all kinds of reasons. And so it isn't like we're saying, I'm not saying get rid of the banks. I'm just saying let's be more responsible and let's put them on notice. This is what makes a historic moment. This is the beginning. And the city of Los Angeles is in a historic position by doing this. By doing this, it will have a ripple effect across the country. People in the 99%, which is 99% of the people, are going to say if L.A. can start asking some serious questions, if L.A. can start saying what's going on, why can't we? So this ripple effect, and a lot of things happen in California that go across the nation. We have just begun to get our own hands on the reality that our nation is on the verge of serious issues. I'm worried about keeping our middle class. I'm worried about everybody's sense of opportunity and they can make it in life. And I watch the Republican insanity going on in their election process. I don't mean that as a Democrat or anything. I'm just talking about the issues they're talking about, which aren't the issues that impact all of us. The issues that impact all of us are bread and butter issues. The ability to take our kids to school, ability to feed them, ability to live in a home that we can keep and go. So God bless everybody around this horseshoe for leadership that Richard put out, Paul Krikorian put out, and everybody else. Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you to everybody for the work they've done on this. Mr. Alarcon, thank you for your words, Mr. Rosendahl, and thank you really to members of the community and those banks that are attempting to be responsible. I really, in particular, want to thank folks from 1LA who I work so closely with. It's great to see Ryan, Yolanda, and Samuel, and all the members that really took so much time to make sure that this was something that was useful, not just something that was symbolic, but something that's real. And the members of ACE and all the other folks that were involved in this. This isn't the first step. I think for a lot of people who maybe would come here today and say, oh, the council is just beginning to address this. We've been having folks who come here every single day telling us stories of their foreclosed homes or their homes that are about to be foreclosed upon. And I've been telling the story of what we've been working together on for many years, how Mark Ridley Thomas and I looked at the foreclosures that were beginning to go on and the predatory lending that happened in our community, and a law that we passed here first, unfortunately thrown out by the state courts, but that would have prevented a lot of what we saw that led up to the mortgage crisis. A hotline in 2007 that we established with a nonprofit to assist people and get a banker on your side who would call you together with you, with the bank, set up after Hurricane Katrina, that was then used to look at the next storm that was pending. This was before 2008 we set it up, and to date we have actually saved $500 million by renegotiating homes that have helped both the banks and, most importantly, the people in those homes, stabilizing communities, 100,000 people that would have otherwise been out of their homes. We had first in the nation law to ban evictions. And many times the banks have people who are operating under their name who they don't even know what they're doing under their name. For instance, we saw folks that were going to renters in homes and apartments saying, get out today for $1,000 or get out for nothing next week. That was illegal under the existing law. And when we told some banks about it, they turned around and made it right. But there were folks that were going out under their name. In Mr. Parks' district, he and I did a press conference on it. In my own district, I just met a young man that when we did the press conference in Echo Park, he now owns his own triplex because we not only saved him as a renter, he was able to build up wealth and to save and to build for his family. Now we're looking at a couple other things. We also passed something that held banks accountable for being responsible for the properties that they received out of foreclosure, because we're seeing them sometimes being the worst landlords on the street, and we're getting complaints from our constituents saying, why are the weeds growing? Why are the windows broken? Why is there graffiti? Why are the gang members coming back on streets that we had worked for decades to reclaim? And those banks that did step up and do the right thing, thank you. You show the model. For those that haven't yet done it, you should be in competition with them, because we're watching closely. And we have that demand of you to be responsible citizens in the way that many banks have for many years, but other ones have just forgotten. And we have to change the culture. And with this responsible banking ordinance, I hope it sends something out. The culture right now incentivizes foreclosures. There's a lot of people who earn money off of the process of foreclosures who are operating under the bank's names. It's not good for a bank when you go through the foreclosure, and it's devastating for our community. Let's change the culture from one of foreclosure to one of keeping people in their homes. And one step that's not in here, and I know I'm over, so I will wrap up with this. One thing that is not yet in here, that we've seen in other cities, we have a Cal FHA pilot on principal reduction, and we're working with One LA and others. I want to see the banks be the best in the country doing that here. In New York, we're seeing it. In New York, we're seeing some rent-to-own pilots in which renters can be turned into homeowners. Let's stabilize our communities. Let's stabilize our financial institutions, but we have to do it together. And I'd like to see the banks not just depend on us to set up the hotline. Set up your own hotline collectively. Work with a nonprofit like Operation Hope or other folks that will allow people to call and to do what's right for them and for the banks together to make sure that this crisis stops here and now. We must make sure that our future is people in their homes building wealth, not destabilize communities and destabilize financial institutions. And this is an important step forward today. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. The colleagues back in, I think it's 01 and 02, then Councilman Ridley Thomas, myself, had a series of meetings dealing with the hearings on predatory lending. Back then in South LA, Southeast LA, we had a range of issues that were raised. Councilman Garcetti as well was part of that group. There were a response to, we saw incredible loans being lent out where you had elderly people who had saved up, bought their homes, were now living off of the equity, and they found that being gone. They were contractors or being hired by go-betweens that were dealing with financial institutions and banks, but there was no accountability. And you could see people's homes just being torn apart by unscrupulous contractors who had relationships with banks, had relationships with finance companies that were taking advantage of the fact that the folks didn't speak English, or the fact that they were elderly and trusted someone that looked like they had authority. Now, this was in 2002. This is 2003. I mean, this is not new news. What is different is that the federal government bailed out the banks to the tune of, what, $750 billion? And because of the politics, we could not put in the type of hooks that made sure that money was being felt by the people on Main Street, Joe Citizen, who needed that support. We just did not have the triggering mechanisms that required the money to reach the common person. It just did not happen. So now we find ourselves in this dilemma. I want to thank my colleagues in Budget and Finance. I know how hard they worked to try to get to a place where we were being responsive. At the same time, address the spirit and intent of Councilman Alarcon's motions in this sense of urgency in trying to hold entities accountable for our tax dollars. So it is a great first step, but still we have a lot more to do. There are people now who are using the internet, they're texting, they're essentially twittering, they're organizing themselves aside from government to find ways to protect themselves to stay in their homes. And so it is our responsibility to make sure that our city family, our building and safety, our police, our folks who have a badge, who have a sense of authority, do not inadvertently add to the misery of those who are trying to stay in their homes. So I am very, very confident we can take those steps. There's a sense of clarity here. Now we have to move with a sense of purpose in achieving our goals. So thank you, colleagues, and this is a momentous occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Labange.
Mr. Miller, please call in Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, you're the legislative analyst. You've followed all this here. In my analysis, I found that there was a problem with investment banking and commercial banking, which was a federal law passed several years ago that kind of drew this collision. Is that a good assumption by me?
Yes, there was, the original Glass-Steagall Act, which goes back many years, it was repealed in, 98 or 99. It eliminated the separation between commercial and investment banking.
So in 1999, that's where they got on the wrong road, so to speak.
That's when the requirement that they be separate was eliminated, and now commercial investment banking can be merged.
But now we are presently the federal government, which regulates banks. The state doesn't regulate it. The federal government does, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay. What are they doing to correct that?
Well, the financial regulatory bill that was passed and is in effect with the Oversight Board did address a number of the issues with the repeal of Glass-Steagall. Not all of them, but a number of them.
Right.
So that is in place.
Right. So that's very important that they did that. It
Yes.
gives us an opportunity. I just want to thank those who were from my district, especially Reverend Ryan, and also the beautiful people at Blessed Sacrament, and do all what they do as advocates. And I also want to thank the business community. In Los Angeles, it always is an evolution of an earthquake, whether it's a real earthquake or an economic earthquake, or an earthquake that it's such good weather that you don't want to think about anything else but being at the beach. That being said, this earthquake that affected all of us, and to many others at a greater degree, to many, many others, Hal has to have a course of correction. A course of correction. And also, all of us within the sound of my voice know that the importance of integrity in business needs to continue to be at the high amount that it is. And also to question, banks aren't going to go away. We got to work with the banks, and I'm sure there's many advocacies over the last 40 years that transformed business in a positive way. So, as I said before, I don't want to see any more Mr. Potters. I want to see more George Baileys. And that means it's very important that we have that type of commitment from our community banking as well as our state banking and international as it goes. Thank you, Mr. Miller, as always. Hope I didn't confuse you more than I usually do.
Thank you, Mr. Labange, and it is a wonderful life. Okay, Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I've often said that this could not happen without the community support. And it goes without saying, but democracy works best when people get involved. So I want to extend thanks to numerous organizations who impacted the direction of this ordinance. LA Voice, SEIU Local 721, 7 to 1, Good Jobs LA, One LA who went with me to Washington to lobby for principal reduction programs, and in fact we put $1 million into a program to do just that. And ACE, a grassroots organization, thank you so much. And of course our neighbors and in our shared location here, Occupy LA. While other jurisdictions had difficulties in interpreting the message of Occupy LA, in LA, this gives substance to your action. And I thank you for letting us know that you were going to fight for this. Colleagues, we have gone through a lot to get here, but there are so many people that are due thanks. But I think it's important for us to remember that assuming this passes, we still have so much more work to do. As you know, last month I introduced a motion to hear out a proposal by the Johnny Cochran firm to sue banks for predatory lending on behalf of the City of Los Angeles. We're hopeful that the City Attorney will come back with a positive recommendation because we believe there's a lot of wrongs that need to be righted. And so we are not giving up on all the issues that have been raised by these incredible advocates. In fact, while this is a very substantive beginning, there is still so much more to do. And I pledge to continue to be vigilant on this issue. Maybe later on, when we get the first batch of information, it would be appropriate to introduce the notion of scoring at that point and get the majority of votes. But right now, I want to thank all my colleagues who might vote in support of this in advance because because you recognize that by providing the best information to the decision-making process, we can serve our communities better and use their dollars more wisely. And so, again, I say thank you to all of you for supporting this. As long as it took to happen, I think it's going to have even greater impact over the years. Thank you.
Okay, before I call on Mr. Krikorian to close, I too want to thank you, Richard, for your hard work and diligence. I really want to say that I'm proud of the CAO for using all of his skills and his ability. And when I had a brief discussion with Mr. Krikorian, he recognized the importance of this and moving quickly. So, Mr. Krikorian, I take my hat off to you. Mr. Krikorian did put this together in about 40 days, 45 days. It was unbelievable. So good job. And with that said, Mr. Krikorian, to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think everything's been said. So what you have before us now, colleagues, first of all, let me say that Mr. Alarcon's 2 points that he raised in his motion, I'm happy to accept as friendly amendments to the Budget and Finance Committee report. Those are adding the including but not limited to language to the commercial banking context on that's number one. And number two is asking the CAO for a report back in 90 days with information that will be requested in the responsible banking ordinance criteria. And then in addition, colleagues, you have before you motion 12A, which is an amending motion, which I want to thank Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Alarcon, and Mr. Englander for seconding, which makes a few revisions, small revisions in the Budget and Finance Committee report that you have before you. And I think first we need to vote on the motion, right, and then the report.
Mr. Clerk?
If you accept the motion as friendly,
well, it's my motion, so it's very friendly.
Well, there you go.
So, okay. Well, then, if we can vote on the package of the Budget and Finance Committee report as amended by motion 12A that you have before us, I would ask for your aye vote, and I would ask then that we receive and file the Jobs and Business Development Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian.
Very, very good. And if I may interrupt
yes,
briefly, and in addition to that motion, as Councilmember Krikorian just stated, that is also being amended by Councilmember Alarcon's statement in regards to including, or also including the including but not limited to phrase, as well as the CAO report back in regards to the responsible banking ordinance criteria.
All righty then. So with that said, let us, on this very important item, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right. Mr. City Attorney, it's my understanding that we have to correct a hiccup that occurred.
Yes, Mr. President. Item number 25 should be reconsidered because Council voted on the matter and a member of the public put in a public comment card that was misnumbered and misfiled. So Council already heard his public comment, but it was after it acted on the matter. So Council should reconsider 25 and then act on it.
Okay, so the first vote is for reconsideration. On item 25, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now let's vote on the actual motion itself, or the item itself. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Krikorian.
Mr. President, forthwith on number 12, please.
Forthwith. All right. Okay, Mr. Clerk, is there any more business before this council?
Mr. President, the desk is clear.
So we do have do we have motions for posting and referral?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, let's consider them posted and referred. Announcements, members? Any announcements? If I could add, Mr. Labange.
Mr. President, I want to shout out to Yolanda Brown again from Blessed Sacrament. Thank you, Yolanda.
All right. Any more announcements, Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we just enjoyed the Academy Awards here in Los Angeles, which is a reminder of me to announce again the Los Angeles Student Media Festival, which will be taking place on March 10th at the El Portal Theater in the NoHo Arts District. This is the county-wide student media festival of high school filmmakers. It's the second one that we've done here in Los Angeles, and it's really a remarkable evening where you get to enjoy some of the great work that our teenagers are producing here in Los Angeles. So it's kind of the Academy Awards for high school students in Los Angeles. So I hope that the public will be able to join us.
Great announcement, Mr. Krikorian. Any more announcements? Seeing none, if I could ask all of the members to rise in these chambers, and if we could be quiet. This is the adjourning motion portion of our council meeting. Adjourning motions, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With great sadness, I rise to adjourn our council meeting for Moses Hyun, who is the father of Noel Hyun, who worked for me for a number of years here in City Council, now a USC law student. But her father passed away February 27th. Dr. Moses Hyun was born in Korea, immigrated to the U.S. after graduating from Yonsei Medical School and serving in the Korean Army. 3 decades later, he served Koreatown as a primary care physician and was known for his generosity in the community. He was an elder at Yongnak Presbyterian Church and was a devoted Christian. He passed away early Monday morning in the presence of his family after suffering a brainstem stroke 2 weeks earlier. It took the family by surprise, and I was lucky enough to be with him just a few months ago at his home, and never would have known that this would have happened. And I know the entire family is heartbroken, and all of our thoughts go to them. He will be missed by all who knew him. We thank him for his contributions as a family man, as a community man. Services will be held March 3rd at 2 o'clock at Yongnak Church, 1721 Broadway, LA 90031, and a private burial service for family will follow at Forest Lawn. He's survived by his beloved wife, Sandy, his daughter, Noel, and son, Philip, his mother, and 4 brothers and sisters. May Moses Hyun rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Maybe we should do all members. Mr. Labange.
Members, I ask we adjourn in memory of the father of Steve Owens, Cheryl Owens. Married 63 years, Cheryl Owens was, and he just passed recently. Steve Owens is a great captain of Engine 76. His father was a great man. We remember him today in adjournment. Cheryl Owens.
Thank you. Any other adjourning? Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Leroy Bobby Hamblin, born in 1939 in Middleborough, Kentucky. He was the second child of 5. He found himself assisting his mother at a very early age because his father passed away at when he was 8 years old. He received his high school diploma in Lincoln High School in 1957. He then joined the military in the U.S. Navy and earned several certificates while serving his country. After leaving the military, he met his wife, Bertha, and they were married in 1961 in Las Vegas. That union produced 5 children. He remained in Las Vegas for a number of years working for the Sierra Hotel, and then later moved to Pasadena as an employee of the Santa Fe Trail Transportation Terminal Service, local union 63 Teamsters. He then began to mentor his children in neighborhood sports. He liked spending time on outdoor recreation. He retired from the terminal services as a driver in 1995 and eventually decided to move to Victorville, California. He resided there with his wife for 50 years in Apple Valley, California, until he passed December 14, 2011, survived by a host of family members.
Thank you, Mr. Parks.
You could have Ms. Perry on that.
Yes. Mr. Parks and Perry on that adjourning motion. Members, any other adjourning motions? Well, this council meeting is adjourned.